You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access. Business Access.
Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
The ICAJ hosts their annual business conference here at the Jamaica Pegasus under the theme Megatrends 3.0, Changing Times, Changing Strategies. I'm your host, Mita Prasad Webb. Please stay tuned for highlights.
The world is changing. We're talking about this everywhere I go. The pace of change is unprecedented. And so, yes, I know we're accountants, but our acumen on technology, we're going to have to beef it up. We're going to have to know about big data, cloud, cybersecurity, virtual reality. This is not an environment of tomorrow where you can say, well, I'm just a numbers person. Those days are over. And so today, what we're talking about is that technology makes things a little more seamless. So we always talk about what happened with Blockbuster. We talk about what happened with Kodak. These are case studies that'll be around for years and years. But unfortunately, there are some iconic companies that will be case studies as well. It'll be Radio Shack. Might be Yahoo. It might be Toys R Us. It might be Borders. There are companies that I grew up with that I thought would always be here, and yet they're gone. So the question is, will you be here in 3 to 5 years? Will your company be here in 3 to 5 years? And what are you doing about it today to make sure that you will be? So when we talk about the world, I meet people who will say, well, Kimberly, I'm just here in my bubble. No one's going to touch it here. Guess what? I was here before I was here. I've been communicating with your team at the Institute of Chartered Jamaican Accountants for probably close to 6 to 7 months. And so if that is the case, that means that just me not physically being here isn't something you're just like, oh, she's not here, I shouldn't be worried. You should be worried because technology means we're only one click away. And so as Jamaica grows and the economy grows, what you don't want is for companies to bring in other accountants. Because you are the supply, you are the experts, you are the professionals. When they're looking for someone to build a new practice area or to lead a new division, they should be here with the Jamaican accountants. It shouldn't be, oh, we got to pull someone else from the U.S. or another island or here or there. Now, that could be what they want to do, but they shouldn't have to do. And so when we talk about change and what does that mean, there's good news and bad news. The good news is, as a profession, we're purposeful, we're data-driven, we don't like ambiguity. We're really good at giving you answers. We're organized. We like checklists because most of us prefer to go down checklists. We're compliant. We make sure we're following the rules. We're rule followers. We're all of those things. And no matter where I go, there are some things about us that are the same no matter where I go. And that's the good news. The bad news is that we're purposeful. We're data-driven. We don't like uncertainty. Because in a time where you have to be innovative, in a time where you need ideas that are so out there that someone says, that'll never work. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the ideas that people would say would never work. Because what I know is this, surely they told Larry Ellison that. Surely they probably told Bill Gates that. Surely they told Mark Zuckerberg that. Surely they told any one of the leaders who are here today and are billionaires, they said that'll never work. That's the innovation that we have to open up our minds and hearts to. And that's what we have to recognize in the megatrend environment of changing times. Recognizing that what we do and how we do it has to evolve and change. So we've got some trends. And I'll just give a couple of things that I do to stay abreast of everything. And I know it's hard because you're like, Kimberly, it's so much. I've got kids, I've got work, I've got elderly care, parents, that, elder care I need to do. I get it. It is busy. But somehow you've got to figure out how to source the information when you need it. Now, for me, I have a lot of different data sources. I've got FASB alerts, SEC, the Journal of Accountancy, the Maryland Statement. I've got the Fortune, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, all of these different alerts coming into my phone and into my email so that I'll know what's going on in the business world around me. Because you can't ask really good questions. You can't manage risk if you're isolated. That's why understanding the trends around you are so important, because you're going to miss something if you don't pay attention. And so, yes, you've got to pay attention to Brexit. You've got to pay attention to what's going on in Venezuela and geopolitical instability. Your companies could be multinational, and there's opportunities for you to go and work in different offices. Yes, you have to pay attention to what's going on in the financial world as it relates to who's able to pay their bills and who's going to bankrupt on their obligations, and who, with the tariffs that are currently, that argument that's going back and forth. You have to have enough awareness to know where to go. You don't have to memorize it, but you do need to say, when I need it, where can I go find it? Get that source in your environment. And then from a regulatory complexity perspective, the regulations are changing. There's an opportunity for you to add feedback. I'm sure the Institute would, lobby a position on your behalf if they knew that there was a position. You have to be active participants in the environment that we're in. And I know in Maryland, they'll ask us to write letters. They'll ask us to show up. Hopefully you're showing up and you're participating in your own environment and being an advocate for the profession. And then, of course, the two areas I left were technology and workforce changes. From a technology perspective, we know that in today's world, we've got the Internet of Things. We've got refrigerators that can call out for soda. When you walk in a grocery store, your phone starts beeping with aisle 9, aisle 10. We know that when I grew up, it was the Jetsons, and having a robot in your home was like a thing of unbelievable. It just wouldn't happen. And yet, if I say the wrong word, Google is like, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. And isn't that nerve-wracking a little bit, right? That they would even wake up to know that you said some word. The world is changing. And so even as we talk about workforce changes, a lot of those workforce changes are coming from our generational differences. Our Zs, born typically in the late 1990s and the 2000s, and our millennial colleagues born in 1980 to about late 90s, they don't want to work the same way that Gen X. I'm a Gen X. And they don't want to work the same way. And I get that. The quality of life, you want to have the ability to have the summer, you want to live, you want to see the world. But you know what? There's no fun without finance. Because how many of you have ever been on a vacation without any money? There is no fun in that. So you need a great job to fund your habits. Our young people can mentor us, our young colleagues. They deserve their seat at the table. Yet at the same time, people who are boomers and traditionalists, they also have context and wisdom. There is a compromise and meeting of the minds. And I'm so delighted that I get to talk about what that means. And so technology is everywhere. And a lot of times, boomers mostly, and some traditionalists, they're in denial sometimes. So if you're in those categories, they say, well, Kimberly, this too shall pass. Well, I don't think social media is going to pass. I mean, I get it, and I say this everywhere I go because I'm going to own it. When Facebook came out, I was years before I actually had a Facebook page, because I was like, who wants to see me at the sunset? Who cares what I had for dinner? I mean, I was just like, does it even matter? And those famous last words, I wouldn't be working now if I'd gotten the stock what I should have. So I say that to say, let's not ignore this by thinking this is going to pass, because it's not. Especially when you see in the manufacturing environments. That was before automation. This is after automation. Now, it might not be your job function, but if you're doing anything that a machine can do, over time, your companies may make tough decisions about who does that work. Okay? So it doesn't have to be scary if you're prepared. So we all need to bring our A game and pay attention to the mega trends, because it's important. We know that technology is driving transformation. If you were able to go into your environment and save money, figure out how to create and drive revenue, enable transformation, imagine how much more valuable you would be. Imagine how well positioned you would be if they were making tough choices.
What are the key points of your presentation this morning?
So the key points of my presentation are that we have to continually evolve and change, and looking at the trends will help us be in a better position.
Is this your first time here at the Chartered Accountants Conference?
Yes! This is amazing. The energy, the enthusiasm. I walked into this room and immediately felt energized, like caffeine. So I'm really excited to be here.
How would you say conferences of this nature benefit the industry?
So conferences like this, and what I really want to call out is that the president talked about doing a conference that wasn't about technical themes. So this conference that talks about other things that make us well-rounded, that give us perspective, that help us grow and learn, I think are amazing, because this is exactly what we need to know. We need to know what's going on in the world around us, and we need to discuss how those help us in our day-to-day jobs and how we may need to change our strategies.
Talk to us about the theme of your presentation, changing times, changing strategies.
So I really followed the conference theme, and I really wanted it to be informative. I wanted it to be a call to action. I wanted to talk about what every person in this room could do to be intentional and to be accountable. And so changing times just speaks to how technology is changing everything, and we need to change our strategies. So I think they're related, and I'm excited about that.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I think that we are all capable easily of doing what we need. When we talk about inspirational, motivational, hard work, persistence, high integrity, ethics, that's the very definition of the Institute of Chartered Jamaican Accountants. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the future.
I'm Butch Hendrickson. You're watching BATV, serious about business.
If you look at the major economies of the world, so we looked at about 46 or 50 of the major economies, and we said, okay, are they seeing growth or not? And that chart tells you what percentage of those economies is seeing positive growth. And so what you've seen is, this is the first time going back 10 years that so many countries around the world, including here in Jamaica, by the way, are seeing strong growth. So it's a good thing, right? We've got, not only do we have strong economic growth globally, it's also synchronized. And that's generally a good thing because you want all countries to be sort of, you want a rising tide that lifts all the boats. The evidence from tariffs is that you end up supporting unproductive companies making horrible products at very high prices. I'm also a Gen Xer, as Kimberly is. I grew up in India. I can testify to crappy products at high prices made by horrible companies that shouldn't have existed, right? And so I'm sure there's folks in this room who can understand that as well. On the business side, we have companies coming in saying, oh, come on, I saw all this big global growth. There was tax reform. I was going to make all these waves of investments to capitalize. Now you're telling me my supply chains are going to get messed up. So most companies are sort of in wait-and-see mode now. There's also a bunch of firms that saying, you know what, I'm going to try to find local substitutes, and are coming to us and saying, I can't find them. I can't find local substitutes. So what am I going to do, right? Now, that's the broad evidence. Personally, I'm actually not sure what's going to happen. If that's what's going to happen, or if we might actually see some benefit, because there are examples, the little thing on the blue, which is hard to read, there are examples where tariffs have worked. Many Asian economies where companies have been protected for a while, as long as there is competition and as long as there's a push for productivity and investment, you actually do see the tariffs sometimes do work. So that gets us to why all of this is happening, which I think is useful for people to understand. Certainly from the US perspective, what happens to the exchange rate? So the theory, the economic theory would tell you that all these tariffs at the end of the day are not going to make a difference because the currency will adjust and imports will become cheaper, exports will become more expensive, and you'll end up with a trade deficit again. You might see, a reallocation. So maybe there won't be as much metals imports, but there'll be some other imports, right? And so overall, the trade deficit will remain the same. That's quite possible. One thing that we've seen is when you look at the US dollar against a bunch of its trading partners, one of the reasons we think that the supply chain has gotten hollowed out is because the exchange rate, this is a chart of the US dollar against a bunch of currencies. The US dollar appreciated in the late 90s, and that is coincident with this sort of decline as a domestic supply chain. A lot of people call out attention to China, but it's not just China, it's the appreciation of the dollar. And what we've seen is that the dollar has stayed at a high value against some of these trading partners since then. So against the Japanese, against the Koreans, you've seen that the dollar has stayed high. And so it is entirely possible that the dollar might adjust, which means that we may end up in a situation back in the 1980s, which again has implications for trade. Now, any of you might remember your history. In the early 1980s with the Reagan administration, we went through something similar to what we're going through now, right? Voluntary restraints on imports, tariffs on a bunch of imports. The target then was Japan and Europe. Now it's China. It didn't work. It didn't work because the exchange rate appreciated and the deficit stayed. And so we ended up with what's called the Plaza Accords of 1985, which was a devaluation of the US dollar, effectively. Some of those people who were involved in those negotiations back in the 1980s are in the administration today. So you might see, I personally would be watching for that to see what happens to the exchange rate. But I am here to tell you, as I tell most of the companies that we work with, if you are holding your breath expecting that all this tariff noise will go away, you should probably start breathing. We have a very resilient global economy, strong, sustained growth for several years, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, but you're starting to see this concern. And one of the concerns, the most important concern that we're seeing from businesses is what is happening with all this trade and geopolitical uncertainty. And what is happening is the fact that there is an escalation, no question, and the escalation is happening under trade auspices that give the administration in the US a lot of authority and a lot of leeway to change practices. And if you look at the words that are coming out of the administration, you will see consistent language about this. Most of that is geared towards the third point, that is to turn around 20 years of a decline in the US supply chain and try to make things better there through more domestic sourcing, through more investment, and through more protectionist policies. And is that going to work? Is anybody's guess? The record, the empirical evidence is not strong. But then we've also not had this kind of a situation where you've got an administration saying, we're going to try to do this.
Give us some feedback on your presentation today.
Well, I think, we wanted to make the point about what's going on with the broader global economy, issues around trade and tariffs, which I know are on top of mind for most people. They are concerned about what they're seeing coming out of the US. And so we wanted to make sure that we kind of covered some of those issues. I think the main point that I wanted to make was that we are in slightly a different environment where you do have a lot of global growth going on. It's been 10 years since the global economy has been in this situation where there's been such strong growth. And so having these trade issues, these tariffs issues are a little bit of a cloud that a lot of business executives have been telling us are certainly concerns for us, and so that's why we've been developing a perspective on that.
Speak to some of the trends in your field and how they help or harm our local trade.
Well, I think there's a couple of trends that I'd probably call out. One is the fact that even though you've had very strong global growth, it hasn't translated to the kind of global trade and investment flows that we've got used to at least last decade. So 10 years ago, we were in a strong period of global growth, and there was a lot of global trade, there was a lot of global investment, cross-border flows of services and goods. This time, it's still strong growth, but there's not commensurate growth in trade and investment. And so one of the things that we've been trying to figure out is why that's happening. And then certainly now that you've seen more action on tariffs coming from the US administration, that's also acting as a dampener on further growth of trade and investment. So I think one of the big things that we're seeing is the fact that most people have been wondering whether the tariffs are really going to, are they going to stick around? Do just wait it out? And one of the points we've been trying to make is to understand why the tariffs are coming by looking at issues around the domestic supply chain, particularly in some of these advanced industries, where what we've seen is that over the last 20 years or so, the majority of the growth that the American manufacturing sector has seen has not been shared by small and mid-sized companies in the domestic supply chain. All of that growth has gone to the largest companies. And the smaller and mid-sized firms in the domestic supply chain, by and large, have seen negative growth rates. You've seen companies or establishments shutting down. And that matters because the majority of workers, the majority of investment is in that supply chain. And so when the supply chain doesn't see strong growth, it has a knock-on effect on things like wage growth, or investment growth, or technology readiness, or productivity growth, right? And so that's really what we're seeing, or what we're looking for is, when you have this new kind of environment around tariffs, is that combined with things like tax reform, are you actually going to see a wave of investment coming into the supply chain? That's what we're looking for.
Talk to us about what's unique about the design of this conference.
This conference is geared towards getting persons prepared for the change that is happening, the disruption that is happening in the world today, and for our leaders to understand the change and what it means for them. And that's what's unique about it. In fact, that we are focusing on it. It's not really a numbers crunching IFRS conference. It's really a true business conference where we can focus on other things outside of accounting.
What were some expectations that you had of this conference?
First of all, I expected to have a very high level of participation from our members and from the business community. I expect that our presenters would deliver on the topics that were selected for them in accordance with the objectives of the ICAJ. And so far, we are very pleased that we are meeting those objectives. It's changing time, changing strategies, and we really like to impart knowledge to our membership and to the business community, so I think that expectation is paramount.
More from the ICAJ Business Conference when we return.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, product launch, workshop, or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357, or 908-2775 for more information. Business Access TV, serious about business.
If you are just joining us, Business Access TV is here at the Jamaica Pegasus for the ICAJ Annual Business Conference.
Let's talk about encryption for a little bit. Encryption today is not what it used to be. Encryption today is actually very, very simple. I mean, you can do it on your phone, on your laptop, on your tablets, with just a couple of clicks. So by all means, encrypt the data that you consider sensitive. It's very easy to do, and it's a very, very effective way to achieve data security. If an app that you're looking at or looking at installing, if it seems too good to be true, chances are it really is too good to be true. I mean, this one app is not going to change the world with just a couple of clicks. That's not impossible. You want to ensure that only the applications that you have on your devices are the applications that are necessary for the execution of your function, of your job function. So don't have things that are installed on there that, you know, is just on there just because it looks kind of cool. It's nice to have that sort of stuff. Many times those apps, especially the ones that seem too good to be true, all they are backdoors for stealing your data. Email is the most widely used tool to compromise data security. It's a low-hanging fruit. The truth is, hackers by nature are actually very lazy people that really don't have to work hard for what it is that they're getting. So if they can do something, if they can send out 1 million emails with malicious content or malicious link, all they're really interested in is that 100 people click on it. They're not really interested that 1 million people have actually clicked on it. And really and truly is, as a hacker, they actually don't want to be in your environment, because if they're in your environment, then the likelihood of getting caught increases. So if they can do it remotely, it's much better for them. And they do that by email, by sending an email with a compromised link or a compromised attachment. So always think before you click on any form of attachments that with any email at all. I'll actually take a step back and say to you, think before you even open the email. Because I've seen situations today where the email will come with an attachment, but the attachment is a self-executing attachment. So once you click on the email itself, the attachment executes in the background, steals your data. I know there's a practice that, you know, especially for people who use Outlook, to have the preview pane of the email up and running, because it makes life easier. It is, because you can quickly glance at the preview pane and say, all right, this is what it's about, and you can make a decision about whether to act or not to act. I'd actually recommend that you turn it off, because those self-executing emails actually run once the preview pane comes up. Another thing that you want to do is you want to keep your systems up to date. You want to ensure that the applications that are running on your devices, whether it's your phone, your tablet, or your computer, are up to date. Nearly all the time a vendor releases an update, it's nearly always to fix a security hole. Oftentimes, it's, you know, a small portion of the time is for functionality. If they're going to release functionality, they actually release a new version of the application. But once they publish an update for the application, nearly all the time, it is a security-related hole that they're trying to fix. There are so many vulnerabilities that exist today with so many applications that, you know, you have to, as soon as a newer version comes out, you want to ensure that you keep your system up to date and install the latest versions of software. It's often you have applications or you have data on your devices, and the usage of that data is just, you know, you have it just because. No, don't keep data on your machine just because you need to have it on there. Because it becomes unused over time, it becomes old and you forget about it, and then the next time you remember about it is when you're in the headlines, because, you know, suddenly company data is out there, your machine was compromised, and you remember, oh, I had this folder on my machine. One of the things that we recommend is that once you're done, you set expiration on the data sets that you're using. So once you're done with something, after the reasonable reporting period has passed, move it, archive it into a secure location, an offsite storage or something like that. Now, backup is often not associated with security. It's often associated with other components of IT. But backup is actually a very important component in security. If we think back to the security triad, backup is affected by the availability component of that triad. Now, think of if, for argument's sake, you suffered a compromise of any kind, and your data, you know, becomes corrupt or lost or anything like that. The absence of a functioning or a proper backup means that the data is no longer available. It means that the system is no longer available. It means that the application is no longer available. And you have failed the availability component of the triad, and therefore you have failed data security. So it's very important to have verifiable backups. Don't just back up your data and say, all right, fine, I'll copy these files over to this folder, I run the backup process in this application and it has copied the file and stored them in a location, in a secure location. Always verify them. We've seen an example where we were called in to investigate a compromise, and the compromise was so bad that we said to the customer, look, give me a backup set, let's start to recover from the backup set. And they diligently showed us the log of their backups. You know, the backup happened every night. You know, the technician checked it off that it was backed up and so on. But when we went to the backup was actually compromised as well. So they're ticking it off that it's being backed up, but nobody's checking to say, is this backup a backup of the compromised data? It just so happens that it was backup of the compromised data, but the backup runs and it says it's completed successfully, and they tick the box. Yes, we've backed up our data. One of the things that I'd recommend here also is that security awareness training, one of the things that we try to do is we try to connect it personally. I know a lot of times, you know, people are doing their jobs and they kind of abstract their work life from their personal life. So one of the things that we do is we try to connect security and data security in particular to your own personal situation. So we'll talk about things like, consider things like how would a compromise of your bank accounts affect you personally, right? And think about all the emotions and everything that goes with that. You know, you can't pay a mortgage and all of that sort of stuff. Think about what will happen if that exact same compromise would happen in the company's bank accounts. People can't get paid, suppliers can't get paid, and that sort of stuff. So one of the things I do, if you try to connect it on a personal level, and you see the gravity or the impact of the situation personally, then it's easier to translate that into business. Achieving data security is not a line in the sand that you draw and you say, boy, all right, I've done all of these things, so my data is now secure. It's a continual process. You have to keep assessing. You have to keep looking at your data needs, your data assets, and saying, all right, is the risk that we face today the same tomorrow? And you have to continually improve. It's a process of continual improvement. I think in security in the security circles we have a common thought that there are really just two types of businesses in the world: those who have been hacked and those who don't know they've been hacked. And that's a reality. And that's a reality. It takes about, the average security incident takes about 30 days to be discovered. And for companies that their pockets are, you know, they're deep and they're invested in it, it may take another 180 days to recover from it. So it could be up to a year in many instances that you don't even know that you've been compromised. Many businesses don't ever recover from a compromise. So to achieve data security, do something. There are many things on the list that are simple to do. They're low-hanging fruits. Just do them. Because doing something is much better than doing nothing and assuming that you've never had a compromise.
The way the technology is going now, it's not even a race for relevance. It's a race for survival. Because if you're not with it, you're going to die. Right? In fact, you have to be savvy. So I was tempted to come up here with paper. I make sure I come with the iPhone. Because if you go anywhere you're presenting now from paper, you're not cutting it. So sometimes even you don't have anything on the phone, you carry it up here, so, right? And some people do it, you know that? Yeah, man, they walk up with the phone and, yes, and moving and touching on the phone, right? But it's the look, right? And it's the image. And we're going to talk about the image because we really have to change it. Because obviously, technology affords us to do things cheaper, more efficient, all of the above in terms of that. So there are some opportunities there for us finance people. So what's the imperative of our finance professional? First of all, we have to apprise ourselves with the technology that's available across. Right? We're going to discuss some of them, but what I'm saying is that whatever we can do in this small window cannot replace the plethora of different applications that are out there. So as a finance professional within your industry, you have to be researching, talking to IT, looking overseas to ensure that you're aware what is out there. Companies are going through rapid technological change. It's emotionally charged. Every day you hear that there's a list coming out, and you wonder if you're named upon the list. Anybody understand what I'm talking about? It's reality, right? So when we're doing technological changes, right, it calls for proper leadership. And it can happen in many ways. You can even get sabotaged. Because if you don't treat people well, they can sabotage you in the transformation process. So this managing of the organizational impact is key. And I would recommend that if it is major enough, get what we call change management help. Right? You may need people who are adept at change management to guide you through this process. Focus on talent and skills. Very critical. The skills that we needed yesterday and the talent are not necessarily what we need today and going forward. And that's one of the challenges that we have. Some tough decisions may have to be taken, and we may have to redeploy people. But you have to make sure that we have the right talent and skill to take their organization forward based on the new technologies that we are applying. Cashier-free store. Real. Amazon has this. You have an Amazon card. You just walk into the store, you swipe, go in, take what you want, leave, and the process send the bill to you. Nobody's involved. Understand that implications for that. In fact, a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, I was in Israel and on a tour. And in there you can do the Israel tour. It's a very good tour. But we stopped at a gas station with the tour guide and put the nozzle in his tank, full up, drove out. I asked him, nobody was involved. He explained to me that the nozzle has a microchip, and so does the car tank. The amount of gas that he's taking is recorded, transmitted by a bill to his company from the gas station. Nobody involved. Right? So I saw that, and it wasn't even last year, this is over 2 years ago. This is a sign of where we are and where we are going. So I'm just putting these things up there. And if you want to research it, fine. But I'm just trying to tell you, because we used to talk about the future. The Eptones have a song that said, the future is here, my dear. Because the future is here. So all that we're talking about, we used to talk about their emerging technologies. Nah, the technology is here. We have to be very cognizant of social media. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm on all of them. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of them. Because we have communicated and keeping in touch with your team members, knowing what they're doing, your children, your niece and nephew and all of that, this social media thing. So I'm saying to us as chartered accountants, don't have any phobia about it. Get with the program. So our job is not to be fearful of what is happening. Our job is to adapt to the change and make sure that we can perform as professionals under the new systems. Right? Our brain, Tavi. In fact, let's say a man's brain, it start work from in his mother's womb and don't stop work at all right until adulthood. You know, when a man's brain stop work, when his wife asks him, where were you last night, honey? That's the only time a man's brain stop work. Right? But seriously, the computers cannot really replace us. But they will make us redundant if we don't adapt to change. So in summary, as I said before, I didn't intend to give you a technical presentation. I really want to give you what you call a reality check to make sure that you understand that these technologies, I mean, I've been part of change process for a number of years, but never before have I seen so much coming at me in a short space of time. You understand? It's not like one time when you have a time, you don't have no room for error. It's coming, right? Rapid, rapid, rapid. And I'm saying, as accountants, we have to deal with it, grasp opportunities, make things better for ourselves and the organization, and just don't let the bus leave us. All in all, before wrapping up, the question is, are you ready? And I hope you're ready.
PwC is a sponsor here today. Talk to us about that partnership.
Yeah, but at PwC, we are very happy to sponsor this conference. The Institute, we have been sponsoring it a few years now. We think it's a very important conference for accountants to maintain their relevance in a very dynamic environment. We think it's value for money to get all stakeholders on board on a conference like this, to share some very good ideas, cover some good topics. So we are always on board and we'll continue to be on board with it.
Today you are also a presenter. Speak to us about the main points of your presentation.
The topic of my presentation was professional accountants maintaining relevance in the digital age. So it's all to do with us as accountants moving with the pace of technology, because we all know technology is taking over almost everything. So we have to ensure that we take steps to make sure that we are relevant. There are opportunities, there are challenges. So my talk, my presentation covered a number of emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, cyber security, cloud computing, number of different areas. Encouraging the accountants to get on board, familiarize yourself with all these technologies to ensure that you can function properly in the digital age.
Outside of functioning properly in the digital age, what advice would you give young professionals who want to become accountants?
Well, it's a noble profession. I don't think there's a profession that gives you the wide insight into businesses as audit and accounting. It's really broad-based. I would encourage youngsters to take a serious look at it. I think career choice is very critical. You have to look at something that you have the aptitude for, something that can pay your bills, and something, that you like, because those three have to go together. So that's my advice. I'm not going to go to say everybody must turn an accountant. Do the research and make sure. But I'm telling you that's an attractive profession. It's a plethora because of activities, because you have auditors, you have forensic auditors, you have internal auditors, you have financial analysts, chief accountants. So there's a wide range in the profession that you can get into.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point with Kalila Reynolds and Dennis Chung. Dissecting the issues, offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Go for God Family Church.
Today's message is for those of you who thought that Jesus was finished.
Inspiring messages.
I'm here to tell you today that you are excellent. God is excellent.
Empowerment from biblical motivation.
To be glorified means to endow with authority.
A woman is a powerful, creative being.
Join Pastor Christopher Morgan and the Go for God team as we go for God.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
I'm pleased to be here to talk to you about T-Tech. T-Tech is the first company to be listed on the Junior Stock Exchange and as an IT firm, and we provide managed services to persons in the IT space. So if you have network servers to be managed, we will look after that for you, provide a service desk. We also help you to implement your cybersecurity program.
Why did you decide to be a sponsor here today?
Well, one, we work closely with financial members of financial profession because they tend to also supervise IT professionals, and also we recognize that the financial profession needs to understand the importance of cybersecurity.
Give us some clarity on BPOs and share some benefits.
Well, in terms of clarity, Overall, it's an industry that's very people-centric. So it hires a lot of folks, and it also enables their growth and development. And if I were to think of some, what you'd call advantages of the industry, I would say, simply put, it creates options that are not limited by age, race, nationality, or any other factor that usually impacts corporate America. In my example, personally, I was a vice president at age 25 in a Fortune 500 company. There's not many industries that take that kind of a chance on someone who is young and who does not necessarily meet the status quo. These conferences, from a BPOX perspective, for me, the biggest advantage is there's a lot of negative perception and a lot of negative press out there about the industry. And what it does, it deters people who could really have an impact to come in and succeed. So from functions like this, my intention is always to correct those myths and to ensure that people view the industry in a positive light, because it is indeed a positive industry.
So talk to us about CPA Canada. What do you guys do?
Sure. CPA Canada, CPA, Chartered Professional Accountants of Canada. We are Canada's national accounting designation. But as much as I say Canada, we are 100% recognized globally. As such, we are affiliate members of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica and recognized by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of the Caribbean. Basically, if someone wants to become an accountant, they usually do a first degree, sometimes they choose to do a second. But at some point in time, they need to become a qualified accountant. Accountancy, like other professions, are highly governed, and as a result, one needs to choose a designation to qualify under. CPA Canada is one such option. It is 100% available to persons who are living in Jamaica. Fortunately, it's 2018, and there's no longer the need to actually go to Canada to earn the designation. Someone can actually sit in Jamaica, continue working, enjoy their family life, and study at the same time. This is actually our second year as a sponsor of the ICAJ conference. It's a great opportunity for us to maintain connections and ties and support our members who are based in Jamaica. So some of these persons who are present here today are actual Canadian CPAs active in Jamaica. And it's also a good touch point for the younger ones who are still undecided as to what designations they want to do. And for those who are qualified, we have a lot of certificate programs that they can now subscribe to. So it's a wonderful opportunity. I particularly like this conference because it's not just 100% accounting topics per se, which can get very technical. It's more of a business conference and really touches issues that are affecting us in the business community today.
Speak to us about the mandate of the ICAJ.
So the ICAJ is the institute that governs the accounting profession. So our members are those persons who have qualified in accountancy to earn a designation as chartered accountants. So essentially our job is to engage with those members, help manage them through their career, and to provide for new members a training of students and the coaching and mentorship of students so that they can become chartered accountants one day. So this is a business conference, and the theme is meant to be there for covering non-accounting issues, because we're trying to attract an audience other than our traditional membership. So the last 3 years, we've done the Megatrends hashtag. So that's why it's 3.0, Megatrends 3.0. The feedback has been extremely positive. I think people like the topics. I've got very positive feedback on the speakers themselves. There's good energy in the room, there's good buzz. So from that perspective, the conference has met our objectives. We have probably our largest delegate list ever, just over 300 people. There are about 50 people online. So from a total attendance, yes, it probably has checked that box. From a diversity of the persons who are attending, I think we've fallen a bit short. So we need to figure out how we bring more people into the discussion. This is not intended to be focused only on accountants. So to the extent that we wanted to see more bankers, attorneys, other professions, engineers. We have a topic coming up on the environment and disposal of plastics and how we manage plastics in our economy, what challenges and opportunities that present. That's not an accounting discussion. That's a discussion that anyone who lives and works in Jamaica should be interested in. And so diversity, I think we can improve that. From a production perspective, I think, again, this year we have done a better job than prior years. So we're continuously improving, but I think we can still take the production level up a notch. We want it to be a really high impact type of conference. So you feel as if at the moment you walk in that this is something new and different every year. So we're going to work on those two aspects in the future.
There you have it, another staging of the ICAJ Business Conference. I've been your host, Amita Prasad-Webb, and thank you for watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Hi, Mas Errol. How you do?
Not too bad.
This is what's so interesting in the paper today, Mas Errol.
Enough things. Did you know that the EU has been doing a lot of work in Jamaica?
Who is the EU again, Mas Errol?
The European Union. A group of European nations that come together to promote social and economic progress and peace across the world.
For true? Newspaper is all well and good, but I bet I can find more information from the internet. I know just the person to call. Hi, Minister.
Minister.
Hi, Jody. Hi, Errol. What can you tell us about how the European Union has been helping Jamaica?
Over the past 43 years, we have received approximately 1.2 billion euros, and this has run the gamut of a number of developmental programs. A particular area of support has been in the area of agriculture. The EU has provided grant funding and support funding for sugar-dependent areas.
Between 2006 and 2017, the EU provided some 23 billion Jamaican dollars to help people living in areas that are dependent on sugar. Under the AMS, 397 houses have been built for residents. This replaces the old barracks-type housing in which they used to live.
The condition of the barracks were completely rough.
No light, no water.
We never have any transport. The bathroom is outside and the toilet was a pit toilet.
We never have no tank, we have a tank. The lights are here, the bathroom inside, the kitchen inside.
Thank God for the benefit we have right now.
Nearly 200 miles of roads have been built or reconstructed in the parishes of St. Catherine, St. Thomas, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland and Clarendon.
Based on the roads that we did, it has created some form of ease for the truckers. Citizens of the area, they also benefit from the road.
More than 2,000 SDA residents have received vocational training.
The center would have been equipped to the tune of over 7 million Jamaican dollars to purchase various forms of training supplies and equipment across 3 skill areas: apiculture, bartending, and cosmetology.
I have been receiving training in various areas such as facial, massage, nail.
They have helped me to be certified and I can now earn an honest living from this.
The EU provided over 100 million Jamaican dollars in new business grants to residents in sugar-dependent areas.
Thanks to the EU for giving me this injection of 1,000 chickens, the feed and medication.
I received $1 million and it makes me into a woman that I am today.
The EU's AMS program has also funded extensive improvement to health facilities.
We expand the waiting area, operational space for our doctors and nurses.
The staff morale, it has improved because you're better able to work with more privacy.
With the funding, we're able to open this section we call the male ward. It is marked improvement over what it was.
I feel comfortable, feel like at home.
Enhancement of educational facilities.
I have a sister that's in erecting. an auditorium, we have a fully refurbished computer lab, and we have a library with over 300 books. We got $11 million to build the facility, and it was a wonderful restroom for the school, and we appreciate it.
Upgrade of childcare facilities.
The funds were used to retile the bathrooms, we improved the plumbing area on the dorms, extended the kitchen and the dining room.
Conservation of the environment.
We embarked on a project here in Salt River, the Portland Biodiscovery Center. Funding has gone towards the erection of the building as well as the construction of the boardwalk.
Increased access to sporting facilities and the preservation of Jamaica's historical architecture.
We were fortunate to get funding for the rehabilitation of the building with computers and computer workstations.
The EU-Jamaica relationship has strengthened considerably in recent years.
Our contribution focused on building resilience, improving quality of life of people in the communities, and providing alternatives. I am absolutely confident that the strong and very constructive relationship that we have today, based on trust, based on partnership, will continue.
You see how the European Union partner with us?
You're right, Mas Errol. Life's sweeter for true with the EU.
Now presenting the Jamaica Social Investment Fund ICDP Enterprise Development Project. Entrepreneurial Grant, Business Pitch.
This project is a $100 million grant that's seeking to target 50 small and micro business enterprises and give them training, capacity development, equipment, permits and license towards the development and the viability of their business. We have made a call for proposal in March of this year for entrepreneurs to submit for the opportunity to receive a grant between $1 and $5 million. We received more than 500 applications, and so we have now shortlisted them to 100. So we've invited that top 100 applicants here today, and they're going to have to pitch their business idea to a panel, and of the 150 will actually transpire and win the opportunity for the grants. One of the primary objectives of what we're doing here is employment. We want the business to be able to sustain not only the principals as the owners, but we also want the business to be able to employ at least 2 people. The next part of it, as we do in all of our projects like this, is it provides a learning instrument of how we can engage small and micro enterprises and take them to the next level.
Why we're doing this rigorous process because we want to identify the best potential entrepreneurs to fund for this project. And keep in mind that we are speaking about a loan, so we want to ensure that the applicants are committed, and that from a sustainability point of view, that upon receiving the support from JSIP, that in 2 or 3 years the enterprises will still be operational and the broader objective of the project will be achieved. Once we have now equipped them and they should be ready to start their production line going, we'll then have a mentorship component.
It has been a very competitive process. Jamaica is filled with persons with drive and passion. We're expecting that the best will be selected. And then for those who are not successful, we are also hoping to link them to other providers of services, because I'm telling you today, from what I've seen, it is an excellent, excellent, excellent opportunity. It's worthy of note that many persons coming here today already have some kind of semblance of a business, but they need the additional support to move that business to the other level, as well as some persons are coming with just proposals to start from scratch. On behalf of the JSIF, we want to really thank the DBJ and other partners from UWI who came to be part of the panel, and just to remind you that the JSIF is here and we're investing for community development.
You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access. Business Access. Business Access.
You are watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.
Serious about business.
Stewart's Automotive Group has become synonymous with the auto industry in Jamaica and is breaking ground for the construction of its new home of the Jaguar Land Rover brand. And Business Access TV is here at South Avenue for the coverage. I'm Jamila Maitland. Stay with us.
Thank you for being here. Good morning and Happy New Year. What an awesome event for us. I cannot believe that we're here today breaking ground, a project that we had hoped to have done in 2008. It's taken us an additional 10 years due to many ups and downs, and we've done it. We could not have done it without all of you here. You have held our hand on this journey, and for that, we love you and we thank you. The Stewart's Automotive Group is proud to be kicking off 2019 in a big way with the official groundbreaking of what will be the new Jaguar Land Rover showroom and service center. This is a historic day for us, and we're very excited about what it means for Jaguar Land Rover customers, the Stewart's Automotive Group, and ultimately Jamaica as a whole. So what does it mean? The new home of Jaguar Land Rover represents investment in the brand, the best to showcase its combination of versatility and luxury, an increased opportunity for employment, and the continued growth of our group and country, beautiful Jamaica. Jaguar Land Rover, the art of performance. I'm delighted to welcome you here this morning, and on behalf of the entire Stewart's Automotive Group, I'd like to thank you for joining us as we put shovel and dirt to mark this special occasion as we go above and beyond. So we're going to have some remarks from my brother Duncan Stewart.
The symbolic groundbreaking for a project that's very important to us. As you can see, we've already started, so this is a symbolic gesture today. Some history. Stewart's Automotive Group celebrates its 81st anniversary this year, and we are proud to continue the legacy that my grandfather, my father, and my mother have continued. This legacy has been built on hard work, determination, and investing when other people wouldn't. It has been built on service. Service to our customers, service to our staff, service to our country. And we are proud that this legacy continues in our young fourth generation who are here today with us. Our family took over Jaguar Land Rover brand 3 years ago. And since then, we've operated in a temporary facility at South Camp Road. In that time, we've grown from strength to strength by raising the benchmark for service and quality, whilst introducing fantastic new models that have raised the standards of luxury motoring in Jamaica. We are proud to say that many of you here today have experienced the brand promises of our premium products. Above and beyond for Land Rover, the art of performance for Jaguar, and I thank you for that. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are excited to say that luxury has indeed found a new home right here. Here at Arthur Wint Drive, where both Jaguar and Land Rover will be housed. We are proud to say that we are bullish on Jamaica and bullish on the Jaguar Land Rover brands, putting our money where our mouth is. Our $13 million investment in this project will allow our group to offer our Jaguar Land Rover customers a world-class retail experience. And it will allow us to expand our horizons into real estate development with the additional space that we will have here for rent. The building will have 5 stories, covering approximately 5,000 square meters, 50,000 square feet for the rest of us. With JLR occupying the first 2 floors of the property, and we'll have rental property occupying the upper floors. We are working around the clock to have our showroom open and ready for the end of March. and to finish the project by September. And to give you some food for thought, what you see already built here started in October, so we are accelerating. Our Jaguar Land Rover facility will be very exciting, the first of its kind in the Caribbean, and of that we are proud. Built to Stuart's and Jaguar Land Rover's exacting standards, we've left no stone unturned to deliver on our family's promise of unparalleled service to our customers. With this facility, we will have the space to grow and to service our growing Jaguar Land Rover vehicle population in Jamaica. The layout, combined with investments in tooling and training, will allow us to raise our productivity. And of course, this standalone facility will give our customers exclusivity and dedicated attention that they don't have right now. Of course, any new construction, especially of this magnitude and investment, comes with benefits. For one, direct employment will be created for the persons in and around the community who will be part of the construction team. We will also house a business process outsourcing facility that will create employment opportunities for Jamaicans in this area and beyond. Secondly, our luxury brands Jaguar and Land Rover will now be housed here. The ambience and appeal of this location will no doubt be raised. We will set the standard in this area. Thirdly, we see this project as one that will heighten the sense of pride for persons operating and living in this area. And these are just a few of the many benefits that we will bring. I'm thankful to the government and other relevant stakeholders having played a very supportive role in this project to date. Prime Minister Holness, your presence today is a true demonstration of your support and that of your administration. On behalf of the entire Stuart's Automotive Group family, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here with us. I'd also like this opportunity to thank our staff, our over 500 dedicated professionals whose hard work has made Stuart's Automotive the powerhouse that we are. We couldn't have done this without you. Finally, I would be remiss not to thank all of our valued customers across the entire group for all the brands that we represent. Thank you for continuing to trust us with your driving experience. Thanks to everyone.
I do want to commend the Stuart family for this investment here, and particularly because you're not just moving the showroom for Jaguar and Land Rover, but you're making an investment in space for the BPO industry, a sector that I believe in strongly, one that has demonstrated tremendous growth and one that will continue to grow. And I think the location, it's hard to find a more ideal location than this. You're on pretty much a main thoroughfare, you're close to major centers, and it will be, in my view, quickly snapped up by those investors who are looking for space. But you've made a commitment and you put your money where your mouth is. And this property, I think, is going to continue to change the landscape of this area. There is another building further up, Arthur Wint, which Daryl was at, where we broke ground. Wicon is building the lofts. There are other developments taking place which will transform the area. Persons are being employed on the construction. Persons will be here permanently. And I think it's a real testament to the commitment of the family. I know, going back to your grandfather, the second generation, you are the third, and I know the fourth is here. And I want to commend the family for this commitment, and in particular the matriarch, Diana, who continues to play her role in the family business. The country has seen a lot of growth, and I could probably name in this area alone 5 or 6 major projects taking place. And by major projects, if you're looking for a crane, you look for a crane when you're talking about a major project. And there are a number of them taking place. And that is a positive thing. It genuinely provides employment opportunities, and it's a good thing. So I'm happy as a member of Parliament to be a part of this and to support all the work that you're doing. And I want to commend the family again and pledge my support as you see through the construction.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On Point with Kalila Reynolds and Dennis Chung. Dissecting the issues, offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
The Nissan X-Trail with All-Mode Eye Technologies. No matter what the road throws at you, your story starts here.
I'm Chris Williams, CEO for Proven. When I think of Business Access TV, two words come to mind: passion and performance. In the short space of time that they've been on air, has demonstrated clearly the Jamaican passion for anything that we set our minds to. They have approached television in the most creative and dynamic way, and I'm proud to see how this young station has evolved. In terms of performance, they back up what they say they're going to do. All their programs, all their packages, all their promotions are efficiently and effectively executed.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
I am pleased to be here because it is a sign of the confidence that the private sector is having in the economy. Let me say clearly for everyone that this is not a simple matter for someone or a group of people to take up their savings or other people's savings, to put themselves in debt, to take a risk because there is no certainty or surety or guarantee in business. It is a risk. Obviously, entrepreneurs, enterprising people are not reckless people. They would have sat and they would have calculated the risk. They would have done their assessment. Now, Julian pointed out euphemistically that much progress started under his administration and we are building on it. And that's a good thing. That is not something that should be denied. That indeed is the definition of progress and prosperity. When you build on what was there and do better than what was there. But in this regard, I take note of Jackie's statement that this project was actually conceived in 2008. So you see, it is passing through administrations. But in the sense as well, there is a certain sadness because it has taken so long. And that, my friends, is the challenge with doing business in Jamaica. It takes far too long. We have to do things, obviously, to make it easier to do business. And Minister Vaz has charge of that with ensuring that all the various elements that go into the ease of doing business, that those elements are improved. And we are strategically focused on that. But doing business is also a function of the general macroeconomic environment. So the ease of doing business are usually microeconomic considerations. But the macroeconomy is also very important. Things such as interest rates, things such as certainty with taxes. What will the government do with its tax policy? And how will that affect your income streams when you make the investment? It is quite clear that from the fiscal standpoint, from the macro standpoint, government has acted in such a way as to give greater certainty to the economic environment, to allow businesses to take future decisions, and not just short-term future, but long-term future decisions, and to bring forward or actualize their investment decisions. This would be a perfect example of that. So I believe Jamaicans can feel satisfied in their government that the continued sacrifice for fiscal discipline has resulted in an economic environment in which businesses can take decisions and risks about investments. But we still need to make even greater progress on the micro issues. For example, how long does it take a business to get electricity? How long does it take you to get titling? How long does it take you to get approvals to do all of this? And the mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew, my good friend, is here, and he knows the government's grave concern about how quickly we get the simple things done to make big investments happen. On another note, I observed keenly the last outturn on growth, 1.8%. Like most Jamaicans, I am not impressed. We want more growth, but we look at the glass for where it is. The truth is that we have been growing consistently. Not the level of growth that we want. I certainly don't consider it takeoff growth. When we get over 2%, then we will be in that range to start to take off. But as Julia knows, the investment decisions that you take today as business people do not have an immediate effect on growth. There is a lag. And that lag period in Jamaica, what we call the transmission of the growth, takes some time. Again, because of systemic weaknesses in our system, the lag between making the actual investment and that investment turning out and showing up in the growth figures takes some time. So you will see growth going into the future. But people always say to me, we see all these investments going on, as Julian was saying, that the national bird now is going to become the crane. Because we see so many cranes around Jamaica, particularly here in Kingston, new buildings being constructed. So it is a puzzle to many as to why is it that the growth numbers are not larger. And there are many explanations, and I seek to prefer one to be considered. For many years, there has been a disinvestment in capital. In other words, capital formation in Jamaica over the past few decades has been negative. So in the national accounting systems, the disinvestment and the negative capital formation would mean that your ability to grow and grow rapidly would be limited. What you're seeing happening now is a return to investment in capital goods. A building, especially a plant, is considered to be a capital investment. And you can measure that in many ways. One, you can see movement in the stock market. You can see movement in the private equity and debt market. Because usually those kinds of movement and liveliness in that market would signal that people are borrowing to make capital investments. And we're seeing that now happening in Jamaica. So the preconditions for significant growth is being set. But you're not going to see it happen just yet right now. Again, the transmission, the lag is there. And I've been to many groundbreakings of similar nature. An immediate effect on the economy is that it creates jobs. And I'm very happy for that. Because it is one thing to have growth, but growth without jobs is immiseration. So we are happy that the growth that we are seeing, even though it is not at the level at which we want it to be, it is creating significant employment. In fact, you know, I'm proud to say there are more Jamaicans employed today than ever in the history of the employment statistics. That is the case. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, that Jamaica can and will achieve full employment. We need to continue this pace of capital formation. We need to continue this pace of investment, and we will achieve full employment, which in itself will create a larger demand, which in itself will drive consumption, which in itself will drive economic growth.
So Jaguar Land Rover has been sharing space with Suzuki down at our South Camp Road office. And frankly, there's not enough space for both brands. So we've always been planning to build here. And so it's about saying when are the conditions right for us to make the right investment. And so we see that, you know, the track that Jamaica is going on, the track that Jaguar Land Rover as a brand is going on, means that's the right time to invest.
It has been 10 years in the making. What does this mean for the persons living around here and just, you know, development overall of this space?
Well, you know, there are not many properties in Kingston this size that can be developed with what we want to do. So we're fortunate. We've owned this property for quite a long time. The construction here is bringing jobs to the neighborhood, so we are employing people here. All of the people who are working in the project are Jamaicans. So we have Jamaican construction, Jamaica architect, Jamaica engineers, and so on. And then, of course, the project, when it comes to fruition, is going to provide jobs because we'll have a BPO here. And, you know, this property is well located centrally. We have a tertiary education institution next door. We have a hospital next door, and we have neighborhoods next door that, you know, can provide workers with jobs in this industry. And of course, for Jaguar Land Rover, you know, we're getting our business all in one place, exclusive property just for Jaguar Land Rover customers. We're going to have productivity driven through our business because we are designing it from scratch.
You are celebrating your 81st anniversary. You know, how long has this been in the making, and what do we expect from the Stewart's Automotive going forward?
So, you know, we took over the Jaguar Land Rover brand 3 years ago. So it's been in the making for 3 years to put Jaguar Land Rover. Before, we were going to put another brand here, but the circumstances of the Lehman crash made the economy and the motor vehicle business very tenuous. Now we have growth again. 2016 was the first year that the car business sold the same number of cars as 2007. So we've had a long time coming back to where we are now, and we see growth on the horizon, and we're very bullish about the future.
Would you say to investors who probably are a little bit skeptic about, putting money where your mouth is, as you said? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, the real issue is about whether you're confident about Jamaica, about Jamaicans, and about the future. And we are, and we invite other people to take the same view. If you look around, you do see people making investments. So it's not that we are alone, right? The thing is that it's time for Jamaicans to change their own future. We have to build it together, and we have to do it together.
That's it from us here at the groundbreaking ceremony for the showrooms of Jaguar and Land Rover. I'm Jamila Maitland for Business Access TV, serious about business.
Sundays at 4:30 p.m. It's all about Home Sweet Home. Get your half-hour dose of the business of real estate, from laws and concepts to reality, building, buying, or renting. Or what about trends in decor or renovations? Home Sweet Home will keep you up to date.
Hello, my name is Blake Widmer. I'm the co-founder of Deaf Can Coffee. The exposure that we had to the just general community through Business Access TV itself is awesome. It was a big deal for them, having BATV come here, and we were with you guys for probably 4 hours that day. It was a long time. We really appreciate your guys' openness to recognize that, yeah, captions are important. If a deaf person's watching it, how are they gonna understand what's being said? So looking back is just a big boost, encouragement for our team. If you're a business or an organization that wants to have yourselves featured on BATV, or you want to do advertising with BATV, what I would tell them is that you guys listen well and you ask good questions, and that will help, at the end of the day, deliver a really good product for your business too.
The Caribbean is a rich biodiversity hotspot. It has over 11,000 plant species, and about 72 of these are found only in this region. This richness also extends to the Caribbean people. Their traditional knowledge of the region's varied natural resources has integrated nature into the economic and health sectors worldwide. It has also drawn many to research and use the region's biodiversity for medicinal, cosmetic, and pharmaceutical purposes. For example, the glaucoma medication Canosol is made from cannabis. However, Caribbean islands have fallen prey to biopiracy, where a country's resources are accessed and developed commercially, but the country gets little or no benefit from it. As the world benefits from the Caribbean's biodiversity, countries need to be compensated for their commercial use. Lawmakers need to ensure that their countries are legally prepared to give access to and benefits from commercial use of genetic resources. To ensure prior informed consent and mutually agreed terms of access established by the Nagoya Protocol, the Global Environment Facility, GEF, United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, and the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, IUCN, are jointly providing support to countries at different levels in order to advance towards functional access and benefit sharing. Under the Nagoya Protocol, countries from which natural resources are obtained for commercial developments are entitled to compensation. It also ensures indigenous knowledge from groups such as the Maroons, Rastafarians, and Amerindians can be credited and compensated if their traditional knowledge has been used for commercial purposes. Caribbean islands are putting the Nagoya Protocol in their legislative framework to safeguard their country's biodiversity and traditional knowledge. Let us all work together to protect our resources, do valuable research, and reap the benefits of sustainable bioprospecting in the region.
Good evening and welcome to BATV News. I'm Keneal Gale. State-run oil refinery Petrojam expects to spend some $1.25 billion during the 2019-2020 financial year. Of that amount, some $38 million has been earmarked for plant upgrades. Javon Keys has more.
Petrojam has projected that some $1.25 billion will be spent during the 2019-2020 financial year. Of that sum, $10.6 million will go towards maintenance and repairs, while $17.84 million will be used to cover administrative costs. $37.99 million has been earmarked for capital expenditure, which includes spending on the planned upgrade to the refinery's facilities. These upgrades are crucial as they will determine the future viability of the company. Of that almost $38 million, the largest chunk, some $20 million, will be spent on the vacuum distillation unit project. That's the same project for which $100 million was initially set aside. However, the government announced in December the return of that money to the Ministry of Finance. In the meantime, $8.28 million has been dedicated to the repair of tanks and pumps. This is critical as millions of dollars in oil has been reported to have been lost through leakages. They've also added a new line item called Reliability Improvement Project. Some $1.8 million have been budgeted for that. Meanwhile, in light of the new stipulations outlined by the International Maritime Organization (IMO), there will be a 0.5% cap on global marine fuels as of January 1, 2020. This means that there will be a restriction on the sale of heavy fuel oils, which means Petrojam will have to diversify its product offerings to remain viable. The planned upgrades are expected to address this. For BATV News, I'm Javon Keys.
The Finance Minister is planning to implement and amend several legislations and policies during the next legislative year in a bid to help strengthen and grow the Jamaican economy. Some of the details were revealed during the Governor General's throne speech yesterday morning. Jamila Maitland has more.
The Holness administration says it's committed to continuing policies and programs to facilitate a sound macroeconomic environment that promotes economic growth and financial inclusion. One way to achieve this is through the tabling of the Microcredit Act.
Ensuring access to finance and deepening financial inclusion is a key objective of the government. As such, the Microcredit Act will be tabled. That will provide a legislative framework for the private microcredit lending sector.
The Cooperative Services Act will also be amended to better guide the operations of credit unions and insurance companies.
Legislation to amend the Cooperative Societies Act and introduction of a prudential regulatory regime for credit unions will strengthen deposit insurance and reduce risk.
And with the IMF standby agreement set to end in November, the Finance Ministry is hoping that efforts to modernize the Bank of Jamaica Act will help to keep the economy on track.
A bill to modernize Jamaica's central bank and make inflation targeting the cornerstone of monetary policy is before a joint select committee of Parliament. A modernized and strengthened central bank will institutionalize and entrench low, stable and predictable inflation, which is a critical platform for any modern society.
For BATV News, I'm Jamila Maitland.
The average price of consumer goods and services went down last month. The All Jamaica Consumer Price Index, CPI, recorded a 0.2% decline for January 2019. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, released the numbers earlier today. Here's more.
According to the latest Consumer Price Index, CPI, the decline was mainly attributable to a 0.5% drop in the food and non-alcoholic beverages group. There was also a 0.1% decline in the housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels division, and a 0.6% downward movement recorded for the transport division. Prices dropped some 2.5% for the group vegetables and starchy foods. Electricity, water, and the sewage rates fell, leading to the group's water supply and miscellaneous services related to the dwelling recording a decline of 0.3%, and electricity, gas, and other fuels 0.1%. Lower costs for petrol resulted in a 0.6% fall in the transport group. Meanwhile, increased tuition fees contributed to a 1.5% upward movement for education, while the index for miscellaneous goods and services went up by 0.3%. The point-to-point inflation was 2.3% and at 2.5% for the fiscal year to date. In the meantime, a breakdown for the 3 regions for the month of January 2019 showed a negative movement of 0.3% in the index for Greater Kingston metropolitan area and rural areas, while for other urban centers there was a negligible movement. For BATV News, I'm Jamila Maitland.
And when you come back, foreign investors accused of shortchanging local laborers in the construction industry. This and more after the break.
The Nissan X-Trail with All-Mode Eye Technologies. No matter what the road throws at you, your story starts here.
On the next episode of Weekend Business Report, Jamaican government outlines plans for the 2019-2020 legislative year. We'll tell you which areas are priority. That, plus company news, the top business stories, and the latest stock market numbers from around the world. That's Weekend Business Report with me, Kenil Gale, this Saturday and Sunday. Welcome back. Representatives from the Incorporated Master Builders Association of Jamaica, IMAJ, say foreign investors are shortchanging laborers in the local construction industry. IMAJ immediate past president Carvel Stewart and first vice president Lenworth Kelly were guests on BATV's business discussion program On Point last evening. Shanae Johnson has more.
Carvel Stewart says the recently signed labor agreement governs all employers and employees within the local construction industry. However, he argues that some foreign investors ignore the rules and regulations to the detriment of workers.
They pay approximately 60% of what we pay as a standard. And when I say 60%, they pay 60% of the lowest level pay that we have. Because we have graduated pay. Based on what job you do, you get a different level of pay. But they were paying fairly consistently across the board 60% of the laborer rate, which is the lowest rate.
Meanwhile, IMAJ's first vice president, Lenworth Kelly, says because the foreigners pay workers less money, they're able to produce lower bids for construction projects. He argues that this practice puts local companies at a disadvantage while threatening the viability of the industry.
Assume a basic 60-40 on buildings, 40% being labor, and they effectively are paying 60% of what you have to pay. Then you're pretty much out. They are 24% when you are at the 40, so there's a differential of 16%, which you can't ignore in any bid situation. The other thing I want to also point to is that within the agreement is not just wages, there are working conditions and there are benefits. There are issues of sick leave, issues of safety, what you provide for the work and that kind of thing. And those items are also largely ignored. And so sometimes you may see workers maybe on one of the highways demonstrating.
In the meantime, the new agreement allows for disciplinary action to be taken against both employers and employees, especially if safety regulations are not adhered to.
The employers can be disciplined also, because depending on who your employer is.
Because if they don't provide the safety equipment, and that's what I was thinking.
Correct, and we're subject to inspections by factories under the Factories Act, and we have to ensure that these safety measures are in place for everyone who is on site. It's not just the workers. All the call everybody on site workers, because all the engineers and other management staff have to obey and undertake the rules as well.
For BATV News, I'm Shanae Johnson.
Meanwhile, the membership of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA, the private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, and the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, JCC, are raising concern about the settlement between the management of Petrojam and the former human resources manager. The organizations released a joint statement this afternoon arguing that the Petrojam settlement highlights the difficulties being experienced by the private sector in any attempt to address breaches of discipline at the workplace or to terminate an employee based on the application of the Labor Relations Code. They say they have repeatedly complained of the high costs associated with bringing cases before the Industrial Dispute Tribunal and of decisions which are unfairly being made based on the inequitable and one-sided concentration on the strict application of the code procedures. The groups argue that Jamaica's labor laws are complex and difficult to navigate. Additionally, they say the laws inhibit the ability of employers to efficiently operate businesses. Meanwhile, the organizations point out that the Labour Reform Report has been tabled in Parliament and awaits deliberation and debate, while the cost and ease of doing business in Jamaica increases exponentially as exhibited in the Petrojam debacle. They say in light of recent developments, they want the Minister of Labour and Social Security to immediately consult with the private sector and other stakeholders to revise the Labour Code before the end of the financial year. JMMB Group achieved a profit of $3 billion Jamaican dollars for the 9-month period up to December 31, 2018. They also achieved a 113% uptick in foreign exchange trading gains. The company released its latest numbers yesterday. Javon Keys has more.
The Jamaica Money Market Brokers JMMB Group realized a net profit of just over $3 billion for the 9 months up to December 31, 2018. That's 17% above the similar period last year. The group posted net operating revenue of almost $14 billion, a 12% increase. The group attributes this performance largely to growth in its core business operations, which it says are foreign exchange trading gains, income from fees and commission, and net interest income. Foreign exchange trading gains saw a significant increase of 113%, amounting to 1.9 billion Jamaican dollars. This was as a result of increased trading activity and growth in the regional markets over the period. Meanwhile, fees and commission income grew by 40%, amounting to 1.84 billion Jamaican dollars. Net interest income also grew by $1.01 billion, totaling 6.68 billion Jamaican dollars. The uptick was due to solid growth in loan and investment portfolios. Net gains on securities traded, however, was conversely impacted compared to other portfolios. It reflected the apparent negative investor confidence in the emerging markets, which contributed to a 24% decline in trading activities, amounting to $3.34 billion. Group CEO Keith Duncan says management is pleased with the overall consistent performance of the company. Going forward, they're looking to introduce innovative financial offerings across their various markets. They're also looking to place more strategic focus on the small and medium-sized enterprise sector in order to drive growth. For BATV News, I'm Javon Keys.
Regional and international news stories are up next, so stay with us.
Targeting inflation to boost the economy. BOJ committed to
Jamaica and the economy. And the best way forward is using an inflation targeting strategy. Keep the rates them low, stable and intact, so consumers can buy more goods with them cash. Committed to make the economy grow. Predictable, stable and low. Inflation targeting the way to go.
They say it takes a village to raise a child, but the world will one day need the leadership of that child. The time you spend with your child matters. It stimulates their minds and shapes the way they act. Talk with your children. Help them to better understand the world around them and to value what is truly precious. Above all, the most valuable gift you can give them is love. Play, talk, teach, love. Take the time. It makes all the difference. A message from the Parenting Helpline and Ad Council Jamaica.
Go for God Family Church.
Today's message is for those of you who thought that Jesus was finished.
Inspiring messages.
I'm here to tell you today that you are excellent. God is excellent.
Empowerment from biblical motivation.
To be glorified means to endow with authority. A woman is a powerful, creative being.
Join Pastor Christopher Morgan and the Go for God team as we go for God.
Welcome back. Time now for regional and international news. A week after demonstrations began demanding Jovenel Moïse's resignation, the Haitian president has refused to quit. Haitians are angry about rising prices and corruption. Al Jazeera's Manuel Rapola reports from Port-au-Prince.
The streets of Port-au-Prince are quiet, but many fear the violence which has gripped the country for more than a week could begin again at any moment. The anger here stems from a government audit, which discovered more than $2 billion in development funds are unaccounted for. The money in question was part of an oil assistance program called PetroCaribe.
The PetroCaribe Fund comes from an initiative from Venezuela's former president, Hugo Chavez. He wanted to have South-South cooperation with countries in Latin America, Haiti, Dominican Republic. But what happened is that they have been spending that money, and years later we realized that all those projects that they were supposed to realize, they didn't realize them.
Evidence of mismanaged funds can be seen across the country in unfinished infrastructure projects like this half-built overpass. Even renovation of the National Parliament building, a multi-million-dollar effort financed in part with PetroCaribe money, is still far from completed, more than 7 years since construction began. Making his first public appearance since the protests started on February 7th, President Jovenel Moïse condemned the violence on the streets, but didn't outline any steps toward finding a resolution. Guichard Doré, an aide to the Haitian president, says the flames of the discontent are being fanned by the president's political opponents.
Haitian politicians always want to get rid of the president after a year or two. That's why we have this chronic instability. The president wants and is open to have a frank dialogue.
While the latest protests in Haiti are linked to the PetroCaribe scandal, discontent with the government has been mounting since the aftermath of the 2010 earthquake, where more than 100,000 people were killed. With widespread poverty, a declining economy, and new evidence of systemic corruption, anger finally reached a boiling point on the streets of the Haitian capital. We're in downtown Port-au-Prince, where there's an uneasy calm as people pick up the pieces after more than a week of protests. There's still roadblocks set up that are preventing the free flow of traffic, and a tension that seems to suggest that the unrest may not be over just yet. Anti-government demonstrators have renewed calls for more protests, continuing to demand the resignation of the president, a condition that Moïse has made no indication of accepting. The more moderate figures of the opposition are calling for a national dialogue, one that includes voices from all sectors of Haitian society. However, it remains to be seen if both sides will be able to find a lasting resolution to the ongoing political crisis. Manuel Rapalo, Al Jazeera, Port-au-Prince.
Venezuela's top court has ruled that the opposition-appointed petroleum executives must face criminal prosecution. The decision by the Supreme Court, which backs President Nicolas Maduro, is the latest move in a tussle for control of Venezuela's oil revenues. Al Jazeera's Lucian Newman reports from Caracas.
In the capital of the country with the world's largest fossil fuel reserves, practically everything you see was built with oil money. And now that money, along with Venezuela's oil production, has been reduced to a trickle. Last month, the U.S. blocked the transfer of dividends from Citgo, the state oil company's U.S. subsidiary, its crown jewel.
Citgo represents about 70% of Venezuela's hard currency, a government that is already experiencing an unmanageable fiscal deficit and is suddenly deprived of 70% of its income, and a government where no one who'll lend it money is simply economically unviable.
That's the point of the U.S. sanctions, to strangle Venezuela economically, to force President Nicolás Maduro out.
We had a large shipment of medicines to last the country for a year, and a large batch of raw materials for food. The account was frozen, the contracts were cancelled, and the money is seized. They suffocate us, steal our money, and then say, hold on to this crumb, and put on a show for the world. Venezuela with dignity says, no to the global show.
No. And now, to add insult to injury, the opposition-controlled legislature has named a new board of directors to take over the U.S.-based company. Citgo operates refineries and supplies some 5,500 petrol stations in 29 U.S. states. Venezuela's Supreme Court, which is loyal to President Nicolás Maduro, issued a rapid response.
This is yet another assault by the National Assembly, which has been declared unlawful against Venezuela's most vital resource. Its decision regarding PDVSA, a constitutionally protected company, are null and void and have no legal effect.
The judge also ordered the extradition of the board members named by the National Assembly. The Trump administration prepares to announce yet more sanctions aimed at further tightening the economic noose on President Maduro. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Caracas.
U.S. President Donald Trump is on a collision course with the Democrats in Congress after saying he will declare a national emergency to secure funding for a border wall with Mexico. A bill to avoid another government shutdown was passed by both houses on Thursday, but it denies Trump the money he needs to build the barrier. Al Jazeera's John Hendren reports from Washington, D.C.
I actually think it's bad politics.
As President Trump ended one showdown with Congress, he set off another.
The yeas are 83, nays are 16.
Ending the threat of another government shutdown, the Senate and House of Representatives passed a spending bill that does not include the $5.7 billion President Trump wanted for a border wall with Mexico. But as the president signaled he would sign that measure, the White House said Trump will also declare a national emergency on the border, giving him access to contingency funds that Congress has already approved.
He will also be issuing a national emergency declaration at the same time. And I've indicated to him that I'm going to support the national emergency declaration.
Democratic leaders immediately promised a challenge.
President Trump couldn't convince Mexico. He couldn't convince the American people. He couldn't convince their elected representatives to pay for his ineffective and expensive wall. So now he's trying an end run around Congress in a desperate attempt to put taxpayers on the hook for it. Make no mistake, Congress will defend our constitutional authorities in every way that we can.
Democrats say it's hard to argue that illegal immigration is a crisis when border arrests are at a 40-year low.
We will review our options. We'll be prepared to respond appropriately to it. I know the Republicans have some unease about it no matter what they say, because if the president can declare an emergency on something that he has created as an emergency, an illusion that he wants to convey, just think of what a president with different values can present to the American people.
Democrats and even some Republicans warn the president is setting a dangerous precedent, opening the door for future presidents to achieve unilaterally what they could not get out of Congress. A future Democratic president, they say, could one day declare global warming or gun violence to be national emergencies. The Democrats who control the House have already signaled they will vote on a bill to block emergency funding for a border wall. But in the Republican-controlled Senate, that measure is unlikely to pass. If Trump can overcome a certain court challenge, that would give him the chance to fulfill his promise to fund a 2,000-mile wall. If not, the promise that Mexico would pay for it. John Hendren, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Stay with us. Talking Stocks comes up next. On the next episode of Weekend Business Report, Jamaican government outlines plans for the 2019-2020 legislative year. We'll tell you which areas are priority. That, plus company news, the top business stories, and the latest stock market numbers from around the world. That's Weekend Business Report with me, Kenil Gale, this Saturday and Sunday.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome back. Time now for Talking Stocks. 66 stocks traded today, of which 26 advanced, 28 declined, and 12 traded firm. The main JSE index advanced by 2,275 points to close at over 380,000 points. The junior index declined by 13 points to close at 3,097 points. Over 7.7 million units traded today, valued at over $235 million on the Jamaican dollar market. While on the US dollar market, 152,000 units traded, valued at almost $32,000 US. NCB Financial Group, with over 1 million units trading, accounted for over 13% of market volume. Jetcon Corporation, with 925,000 units trading, was second, while Radio Jamaica, with some 672,000 units trading, was third, making up over 8% of the market volume which crossed the floor. The main advancers were Epley, up $3.90 to close at $13, followed by 138 Student Living Jamaica, gaining 57 cents to close at $5.46, and Wisynco Group up $1.10 to close at $11.77. The main decliners were SSL Venture Capital Jamaica, down 25 cents to close at $1.70, followed by Mayberry Investments, down 79 cents to close at $8.05, while Dolphin Cove went down $1.35 to close at $14. In foreign exchange trading, the Jamaican dollar made ground on all three major trading partners today. The U.S. ended the day selling for $134.08, losing 16 cents to the Jamaican dollar, while the Canadian dollar ended the day selling for $101.28, losing 39 cents to the Jamaican, while the British pound sold for $171.77, losing $1 to the Jamaican. And that's the news, but before we go, a recap of our top story. State-run oil refinery Petrojam expects to spend some $1.25 billion during the 2019-2020 financial year. Of that amount, some $38 million has been earmarked for plant upgrades. Thanks for watching. For more content, please go visit our website at batvja.com and be sure to follow us on social media. I'm Kenil Gale. Have a great day.
Stay current and gain more information on the ever-evolving industry of real estate on Home Sweet Home, Sundays at 4:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
Welcome to Jewel Paradise Cove, where Shani McGrim, Shirley and I will be hanging out for the day. Shani is a director at Chai Studios, fitness instructor, personal trainer and lifestyle coach. So of course she's big on health and wellness. She'll be showing us how she likes to spend her downtime when not working up a sweat. So now let's start the day. Now, as I mentioned before, Shani and I will be hanging out at the gorgeous Jewel Paradise Cove for the day. But before we head inside to meet her, here are a few quick facts about Shani McGrim Shirley. Firstly, she was a special education teacher before getting into fitness. Secondly, she was a Miss Jamaica Universe 1998. And finally, Shani has 3 beautiful kids. Now, with no further ado, let's head inside to meet this phenomenal woman.
So we're signing people in, they're coming to be touring the property. And hey you!
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So glad you came.
Oh yeah, well thank you for inviting me. Already feeling like I'm in paradise here at Jewel Paradise Cove.
Definitely, they really named this place the perfect name.
I'm really excited to see what you have planned for us today, which is what again?
Girl, I have so many things planned for you. I have a mix of the nice, lazy, lying on the beach, sipping pina colada and dirty banana, my drink. And we're going to do some activities. We're going to do tennis. I'm actually teaching a class here because they're having a yoga and wellness retreat. So that's what I'm a part of. So I'm actually mixing a little vacation and a little work. There you go. But I see some welcome drinks here. They're on their way. They bring the cocktails. So from your start, you're getting a nice little buzz. Thank you.
Cheers to a great day.
Listen now. And the sun is out.
Well, you already gave me a little trips, but tell me why Jewel Paradise Cove is your chill spot.
I'm actually somebody that does not like extremely large hotels. I feel lost. You spin me, I get lost in a building. Right. I love the intimacy of the Jewel chain. The properties are intimate, quaint. Everything is accessible. You feel like you're really in paradise and you enjoy. You don't feel overwhelmed. So I actually come to Jewel quite often, like maybe 2 or 3 times a year, because they also have a family resort. So I was at the family resort before with my kids, and then Honey and I popped over to have the adult time. So, enjoying it.
So what's step 1 of our day? What's the first thing?
All right, well, I'm going to give you a full tour. So we're going to walk around and actually see the property. And then after that, maybe we'll get a little tennis going on. No, we'll warn you. I cannot play tennis, but my husband likes to teach me to play tennis.
Can you talk to the team here? Because I cannot play tennis either, okay?
Listen now, we may look like fools, but it's okay. We're going to have a good time doing it. So we'll start with that, then we'll cool off and go by the beach, lie out here, you know, I'm a sun bunny.
Okay, well.
So we're going to have that, and then later we're going to do a class. I hope you're ready to dance with me.
I'm eager to get started, all right? Let's go.
Yeah, that is you. That is you. I think that's the one you should get, Candy. Wow. What did I tell you? This is paradise. This is the epitome of paradise. I love it.
Coming up.
You make it look
so fun. You make it look so easy. Is it really fun and easy for you?
Fun and easy. It is always fun. Keep in mind, it's still work.
Right.
The best thing people can do is marry their passion to their job and get paid for something they love doing.
It's quite beautiful though, and nice.
And quaint.
Very
That's what I like
cute.
about this
Yeah.
property.
It is. Thank you so much for that excellent tour of the property. It was really fabulous to be here, and I'm just feeling like I'm in paradise. I don't have any other words.
Well, you can see exactly why I've chosen this property to come to. I love it here at Jewel.
So we want to talk a little bit about the professional side of you. Tell me about Chai Studios and what you do as a fitness instructor.
Well, Chai Studios is a boutique fitness studio. I like to tell people it's not a gym. You don't come and work out on your own. It really builds camaraderie between persons who come there. It's fun exercise. Everything is classes. So when we came up with the concept of Chai Studios, we wanted to have a lot of non-traditional with traditional exercises. So yes, we have the Pilates and the yoga and strength training, body conditioning, but we also have the dance hall, Zumba. I've started something called Yasso, pole fitness. So we really wanted fun exercise that can give you the same results, but not, you don't want to feel mundane and boring and you're only in one style of cardio or one style of strength training. We wanted a mix.
So tell us, how did you get started in the industry or in health and wellness?
Well, you know, a lot of people don't even realize that I was in a completely different line of work, a completely different profession. I'm actually coming from an education background. I was a special educator for maybe, I think it was 9-10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I first taught at VAS and I was at a preschool step by step. And it was after I had my third baby, and everybody who knew me then knew I was very heavy set, to put it nicely, with all my pregnancies. And I actually started doing a fitness class just for my own personal. I had enough of carrying that weight around with me. And I got introduced to a Zumba class and I fell in love. The first time I experienced it, I truly fell in love with the music, the rhythm, how fun it was. I didn't feel like I was working out. And funnily, that instructor was only here for a summer job. And she was leaving and the class said, Shani, you're going to take over the class. Keep in mind, as I said, I was heavy set. I was actually a teacher, had nothing to do with fitness, nothing to do with dance. And I was like, oh no, crazy, I can't teach a dance class. And the entire class said, if you teach it, we'll all keep coming. And at the time, it was Shakti that was open. And they said, Shani, the class said they'll support you. So if you teach it, we'll hire you. So they actually took a chance on me, hired me. I got my certification within that same month that they said, Shani, start teaching, you can get your certification while teaching. And then that was it. And then after that, I was being hired and booked by every gym in Kingston. I was rags out. I was all over the place.
I remember that.
And then with that, I said, you know, I can't manage covering 9 gyms. I was at business places doing corporate also with just fitness. I needed a place of my own. I needed a base. So I decided to partner up with a friend of mine and we said, let's offer classes that individuals really want. I have to say I enjoy what I do.
Layout. 1, 2. You make it look so fun. You make it look so easy. Is it really fun and easy for you?
Okay, fun and easy. It is always fun. Keep in mind, it's still work. The best thing people can do is marry their passion to their job and get paid for something they love doing. Now, my true calling and purpose in life, I love to help people. So when people ask me if I miss teaching, I go, actually, I'm still teaching. I'm dealing with adults who are just big kids. They still have temper tantrums. They still break down and cry with me. I still do a lot of therapy sessions, a lot of counseling, exactly as I was doing when I was in the classroom. Now, I thoroughly enjoy what I do. There are days where I'm tired, I'm feeling sick, I'm feeling cranky, I had a bad night last night, I'm upset, I can't carry that into my sessions. So that's when it gets hard, where you have to keep your emotions at bay and put a face forward. I mean, similar for you, you're in the public world, you can't show everybody that I had a rotten day today, so you still have to put the face on. Now, are my sessions easy? My clients will tell you, no. I have a list of the most horrific names my clients give me. Drill sergeant, I am Satan himself, I am Lucifer. They give me these weird names because I push you hard. My thing is, if you're coming to exercise for an hour, give me an hour. Give me 150% within that hour. Always give all that you can. So when I drive, whether it's a dance class, yes, we're having fun, but you're going to walk. You're not even going to work. You're going to walk with me. And you're going to do it with a smile. So I keep them intrigued. They're near tears, but they're laughing. They're not sure. They leave there sore and satisfied.
Exactly. Mission accomplished.
There you go.
What kind of challenges have you had to overcome in the industry?
There are quite a few challenges, you know, especially for, and I guess it's not just in the industry, it's right across the board. Us women, we have to work even harder to be taken seriously and to be recognized as being good in our profession, not by what our capabilities are, but we're always having to prove. Now, in the fitness industry, you have those who are a little bit more extreme, that they really look extremely lean and toned, and they go into the more bodybuilding route of exercise and fitness. For those of us who still keep a balance with our package and how we look, people don't realize we're actually equally as strong, or sometimes even more. It takes more for a woman to bulk and to have that kind of look. And hats off to them, because it's a real balance between diet and exercise. But what I find, people will see me when I first came into the industry, they didn't realize that my body conditioning classes, I was known, and they took me quickly for the dance fitness. That was very obvious. They saw what I could do. But to take me seriously with personal training and body conditioning classes, I would hear people go, oh, but Chai isn't a real gym. You can't really get real results there. Ah, that's girly exercises. So I've actually had a few men from reputable gyms who are bodybuilders who actually came with their girlfriends as a challenge to go, I'm going to show you what you're doing is foolishness, quote unquote. 10 minutes into my class, they started stripping clothes and getting serious. I mean, it was amazing to see their reaction, because they're like, it's foolishness, it's little girly stuff that you're doing. So that was a big challenge, but I enjoyed that. Several of them actually came to me, said it to my face, and said, I'm up for your challenge. Challenge me, Shani. Let me see if I can do what you're claiming. And when we did it, they left and shook my hand and said, hats off to you. Now, unfortunately, I can't take every person in Jamaica and say, come and have this experience. But that was my biggest challenge. But slowly but surely, I'm getting to dissolve that misconception that people have. And I'm enjoying the challenge, to be honest with you. I'm up for it. I'm breaking stereotypes with that and enjoying it.
What sort of impact do you aspire to make?
It's funny. Chai started out not as a women's gym, and it isn't, but we have predominantly maybe 96% women that come to Chai. And with that, I find I've done a lot of therapy and counseling with my women. I find people who come to Chai, they come, I'm not saying everybody comes affected or broken or going through a struggle or trying to reestablish who they are or find themselves, but I find that they come to us with that kind of need, and I'm truly able to facilitate that. And that is what I truly love. I tell people, you need to find your purpose in life. And I found my purpose is truly helping other people. I like to let people become reacquainted with themselves. So a lot of the women who come to me, they may have the facade that they are confident, they're at the top of their charts in their professional capacity and balancing their family life, but something is lacking. And usually it is that reconnection and confidence within themselves and putting themselves first and realizing by taking care of yourself, you're able to help others. So I find that I truly facilitate that. So I enjoy being that for the clients that come to Chai. Right hand.
you say is next for you or for Chai?
Right now, I'm actually working on something very huge for me. From I got into dance fitness, people have been asking me worldwide, Shani, how can we get your routines internationally? Almost every week, I get an email from Russia, from the UK, from the States, from Colombia, Mexico, I mean, all over. It's amazing. From India, asking, Shani, how can I get more of your routines? Because years ago, I had put a few routines, not even trying to get clients to follow me. I set it up more for my instructors to have a reference point. And people have been asking me, they want my routines internationally. And at this point in my life, funnily, I'm starting to do it. So I'm bringing Yasso to the world. Right. The concept of dancehall, soca, Afrobeat, all fused with fitness. I'm now actually in the midst of filming and setting up my program to carry it internationally. So it's huge. It is a very big step for me. It's my baby. It's my brainchild. Right. It's me. Right. It's me. Doing fitness with a smile on my face and bring it to everybody and bringing people with me on this journey. So I'm looking forward to that.
Can't wait to see how it turns out.
Oh, you're coming to my class later?
No, I'm coming to your class.
You're going to test it out yourself.
We're going to do some activities now first though, okay? So let's get to that. Coming up, what would you say is your proudest accomplishment to date?
It's actually my kids. From I was a little bit, if you ask me what did I want to be when I grew up, maybe some will say I wasn't very ambitious, but I said I wanted to be a mother, I wanted to be a wife.
There's something new and amazing that Mommy buys called Surge lactose-free cow's milk. It's real milk that's easy on my tummy and tastes really yummy. This week, everyone can enjoy real milk now. Mommy says with lactose-free milk, she lives worry-free. There's 1% for Mommy and Daddy, full cream for me. Look at milk now!
Introducing Surge lactose-free cow's milk. Enjoy real milk. Available island-wide.
want to talk a little bit about your personal side, and David, feel free to chime in whenever you feel you need to.
Trust me, he will.
Tell me about your childhood and how you were raised, any of the siblings that you may have, things like that.
Well, a lot of people think I only have 3 siblings,
Right.
when in truth I have 5 siblings.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I have 2 older sisters.
2 older sisters?
I know. See, look how long you've known me. You didn't even realize this. I have 2 older sisters. So I'm actually the 3rd child from my dad, 1st child from my mom. So everybody thinks that it was myself. I have my sister right after me is Tabel. Everybody knows Zara. And now everybody knows Adam, Mr. SBF, my hearty brother. So it's 6 of us in total, 5 girls and 1 boy. Growing up, I was such an outdoorsy child. I was known as a monkey. I climbed everywhere. So I guess that's kind of filtered over into...
Still climbing?
I'm still climbing. Might not be a tree, but a pole now, but I'm still climbing. But yeah, I was just always active, running up and down. Nothing like playing outside, in the dirt, bathing outside.
Bathing outside,
Yes.
okay, Shani.
When I was a kid, I was always bathing outside.
Wow, okay.
I was real outdoorsy, yeah.
What about the schools that you went to?
My grandma was actually a principal, so she had a little school called Wholeness Prep. So that's where I first went, and then I went into kindergarten at St. Andrew Prep. And I moved on from St. Andrew Prep and I went to Immaculate High. And then I did 6th form at Andrews.
Okay.
So I was really all over the
So you're an
place.
Immaculate refugee.
Yes,
Okay,
I am.
potatoes.
Don't bother with it, right? Don't bother with it. And then after that, I went to Micah Teachers College. You know, before going there, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I took a year off in between leaving high school, getting into, I entered Mr. Maker first, before going into Teachers College. I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And my mom was like, experience life, honey. You know, live a little, figure out what you want to do. And then I realized my passion was kids. Went into Micah Teachers College and specialized in special education.
So David, what's one word you would use to describe Shani? If you can think of one word.
One word.
One
Wow.
word.
I would have to say incredible.
Aww.
Science and just everyone. It's really incredible how she manages to do all of that.
So if you don't mind me asking, how did the 2 of you meet?
So we're in the grill and right in front of Risky Business. It was a night party, you know, it was in March, one of those all weekend partying.
Yeah, Easter or something.
We're on the beach. Somebody asked me the time. I never had a watch, but I'm like, I can ask him. Excuse me. What time is it? He told me. Poor soul, I never tell the guy the time. So the person who asked me the time, I got the in, and that was it. We're chatting the whole night. We spent the entire night together. And from the day I met him, that night, I just knew that, oh my God, my skin is on fire. This is the guy for me.
Shows how timing is important, because I had seen her before several times and I just waited and waited and waited. And fortunately, she's the one that approached me.
Oh, wow.
But I had noticed her before, you know.
Yeah, quite a few times.
Timing is everything.
Today, you guys have 3 beautiful children. Tell me about them.
My eldest is India, she's 12. Then I have Ty, he's 11. That's my one son, my little lover. And then my little one, Mali, she's 7, going on 17. God bless me with that one. But they keep us busy. They are amazing. I have to say, the one thing whenever we go anywhere, people always say to us, my goodness, your kids are so well-mannered. We pride ourselves on being good parents in raising well-mannered children. It's a pet peeve of mine.
So now have to respect.
Respect. I cannot take a rude child. Be adventurous, mischievous, get into typical kid mischief. But respect, there is no question there. You have to be. But they're amazing.
What would you say is your proudest accomplishment to date?
It's actually my kids. I know everybody expects me to give some kind of modeling accolade or, you know, teachers college or getting into fitness. It really is my kids. From I was a little bit, if you ask me what did I want to be when I grew up, maybe some will say I wasn't very ambitious, but I said I wanted to be a mother, I wanted to be a wife. So my really and truly, it's having my kids. I love being a mom. It's a gift, it's a blessing. It really is my answer.
What would would you say drives you to succeed?
What drives me to succeed is just being true to myself. That is probably, everybody who knows me, maybe it's the Saji in me, I'm a straight shooter. I'm very honest, I'm very to the point, and I think that filters over in my life. So just being true to me, you know, I've lost myself, I've found myself, I've transformed so many times over the 15 years of being a mature person. I've evolved so many times, and at the end of the day, I think being true to myself is what drives me.
What else do you guys like to do for fun?
We're actually such a competitive couple. Everything we do, we like, from when we first started, we used to like playing backgammon together. Or we actually go, if we went out on the beach, we'll exercise together, run up and if I'm doing push-ups, he'll go, Shani, how many push-ups you did? He's going to say him, you know, if he really can only do 30 push-ups, and I did 31, you best believe he's going for the 32.
Why we stop playing backgammon again?
Okay, my very competitive nature, I tossed the game. I will never tell my kids that I did that. He was winning, he always wins. And after a while I went, I'm done, I cannot lose one more time. But we'll have fun together. So whatever it is, if it's swimming, if it's him trying to teach me to play tennis, which you saw how that went. Whatever it is, we just like to, we enjoy each other's company. Movies are another big thing we like to do. We love to sit down and just laze around and watch movies, and we chat a lot. Everybody knows I'm a talker. People don't realize he's a bigger talker than me.
I listen a lot.
He tells people all the time, telling Shani hello takes you 10 minutes just to say hi. So we actually engage and chat a lot. I think that's probably what we do the most.
Shani, what advice would you give to your younger self, if you could give your younger self some advice?
I think I'd actually have a two-part answer for that. I would remind myself or tell myself, live in the present. Don't be so concerned about what's ahead. Enjoy and live in the moment. And also to embrace me physically. How I am at a particular time. Love this body, because 10 years down the road, you're going to say, I wish I had. And then 10 years down the road from that, you're going to say, I wish I had. So I find us as women, we're so hard on ourselves and, oh, I hate, my thighs are too big and my tummy is too thick. Enjoy where you are at and live in the moment, both physically, mentally, and just what's around you, what you're experiencing.
Well, Shani and David, of course, thank you so much for a fabulous day at Jewel. I can't say I enjoyed the tennis though, you know, of everything. I love the water
You have to practice, I'm learning too, you know. You never say, I'm learning too. He's a pro.
The Zumba was great, but the tennis, I don't know. I'm just not good. I don't know what else to say, but it was truly a nice day. So thank you very much.
I'm so glad that you came and took part in this. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And that brings us to the end of another great show where I got to hang out with Shani McGraham Shirley, director at Chai Studios at Jewel Paradise Cove, another incredible Jamaican chill spot.
This is paradise. This is the epitome of paradise. I love it.
Remember, you can check out previous episode of this show at batvja.com. Until next Friday, I'm Candy. Bye.
They must be so...
Don't take your usual portion, Shani.
Welcome to Jewel Paradise Cove, where Shani McGraham... Yo, every time you ask me to do it a second time, I can't do it. No, but I am only good at doing it one time. I'm a one-take onesie. Welcome to... Stop it nice, na man.
Welcome
Welcome to The Good Life. I'm your host, Amita Prasad Webb. Now, it is said that we are what we eat, that we feed our mind, body, and even spirit with what we consume. On this episode of The Good Life, we talk food in the form of nutrition therapy with nutrition therapist Stacey Akon. Stick and stay. Hi, Stacey. Thanks for joining us here on The Good Life.
Hi, Amita. Thank you so much for having me today.
Happy to have you. So I know that health and nutrition is your thing. Talk to us about what exactly is nutrition therapy.
Okay, so nutrition therapy really is using an evidence-based approach to maximize a person's health potential. And so it's around individually planned or formulated lifestyle changes and behavioral change patterns.
So how does that work? Is it a case where I say, you know what, I have these issues, I want to change, I want to live a healthier lifestyle. How do I go about doing that?
Okay, so it can happen like that, where someone will already have identified their health concerns or their areas of weakness. And you know, some people just want to live a healthier lifestyle. Some people want to lose weight. There are others who know they're trying to eat well, but they're not sure how to go about doing it. In some cases, some people have a lifestyle illness such as diabetes or hypertension, high cholesterol. The doctor has told them that they need some nutrition advice, and so they would seek out a counselor like me. And how that works is that, you know, they would call my office. We do one-on-one sessions, so in-office sessions. And it could be a first-time consult, really is assessing the health history of the person, getting an idea of just what their status is, nutritional status, as well as their health status. And we set goals together. And it's not a one-time visit, you know. Really how I work is as a guide, as a mentor. So we follow up definitely after we set our goals, and I really will guide you into finding out what those goals are. And so you tell me what it is that you would like to achieve. I will guide you through that process of identifying what those things are. And we work together for a period of time until you know, you feel as if you're in a place that you're empowered to manage your own lifestyle for yourself. So that could be long-term, or some people just need 1 or 2 visits. Some people just need some specific advice on a specific area. So it really depends. It's a very individual process. So really, it's a very client-centered approach in that it looks at the individual's needs, and I help them and empower them to just make those changes and create this lifestyle that they want to have, a lifestyle towards greater health, greater energy, and greater well-being.
How did you get into food and nutrition?
At one point I wanted to become a chef, so I actually did go to formal culinary training to pursue that career. So I worked within the hotel industry in restaurants for a little bit. Now I transitioned into health after my own experience with illness. So a few years ago I experienced kidney disease, and I had to find a way to use food to help to turn around my situation. So it was very impactful. And I was exposed to the right material through research that I was doing already. And I really believe that because I changed my diet and I came off some of those foods that would become loads or toxic loads to my kidneys, I feel as if that is really what, I know that that is what had impacted my recovery, my quick recovery. You know, food is critical to life, and a lot of times we're not even realizing how damaging our own nutrition is, what we eat. And it's, you know, food is more than just physical food. there's mental food, there's emotional food. So the question of what are we feeding ourselves, it goes beyond just what we're putting in our mouths, but it also has to do with what are we thinking, what are we feeling? Because a lot of times those are the things that will impact what goes in our mouth, what we choose. So if we're stressed out and we don't have a lot of time, you know, then we can't focus on food prep so much. And so therefore we're disadvantaged in that area. So our lives, other areas of our lives, which is a primary food, the things that actually feed us, impacts on what we actually eat. So there's a connection with emotions as well. Especially I find as women, we tend to suffer from emotional eating. When we're depressed or sad or lonely, we tend to go for the comfort foods. What's your comfort food?
Comfort food, like stewed, anything
stewed,
like carbs, rice
and
bread,
okay,
pasta.
And pasta. See, so for some reason, the foods that we find comforting are those high-fat foods. You know, the creamy sauces, the ice creams. But unfortunately, because a lot of us don't know how to manage our emotions, we tend to go in a cycle. So every week or every day we feel a little depressed. We feel like we need something to pick us up. And so we may make inappropriate choices for our health because we're not managing our emotional well-being as well. So the idea of coaching or health coaching, it takes into consideration the entire person, not just what they're eating, but also how other things in their life could be affecting what they choose to nourish their physical bodies with. Okay, wonderful. So now we can give you a taste of something that we made earlier this morning. Great. Try our green juice.
Thank you, Stacey. That's good. On that note, we take a break. But don't go anywhere. You have to check out our Need to Know feature on nutrition therapy.
Adam and Eve Day Spa and Salon plans to indulge you this Valentine's Day. Ah yes, drift away, cocoon your body in rich chocolatey goodness, add a massage or a facial in our executive suite. Try out our rainforest water massage to ignite your experience. Do your hair or a couple's mani-pedi. Treat your taste buds to succulent chocolate treats. Come, be pampered. Call us at 754-6018 or visit us at 20 Tobago Avenue, New Kingston. Give the gift of love. Give Adam and Eve. Gift certificates available.
Need to Know feature comes to you in the form of a cooking demonstration from health coach Stacey Aiken. This one's especially for those concerned with their salt intake, so look out for the pop-up tips.
We're going to be doing black beans, but we're going to be doing black beans as a burger or a patty. You could actually do this in a couple different ways. You could do it as meatballs, you could form it into balls, or you could even do a stew. But today I'm going to be doing black beans as a beef patty or a beef patty alternative for like a burger or for a wrap or just on a salad or anywhere else. So first I'm just heating my pan a little bit, and I'm going to be adding some wonderful Jamaican coconut oil, all right? I'm also going to be sauteing some onions. All right, and then a little garlic. Lots of garlic, I love me some garlic too. Some sweet peppers, okay. And I'm just gonna allow that to sweat. And that means the flavors are just gonna come together. The onion's going to start releasing its juices and everything is gonna meld. In the meantime, I want to add some herbs to it. So I'm going to be using some fresh thyme. So we have two different thymes here. We have St. Andrew thyme, right, which is a small leaf thyme. This is St. Andrew thyme as we know it. I'm actually going to just put it straight into the pot.
All right. But I'm also going to be using, anybody knows what this is? This is a French thyme. So this is lovely in stews, in soups. You can just throw it in the pot. Lovely flavor. It's very hearty. So I'm just going to be just dicing it a little bit, chopping it up. And you know, we have so many herbs in Jamaica that kind of grow wild because this thing kind of grows, just comes up in people's gardens, right? The French thyme, it ends up becoming a hedge for some people, but I'm saying we have so many other herbs, Jamaican herbs, that we neglect. We end up pulling them out. Anybody knows what parsley is? Parsley or basil, common basil, right? It's kind of tough, a little bit harsher, rougher than the regular European basil, but the flavor is wild basil. All right, so now we're getting a little bit of caramel. And before this starts to burn, I'm just going to add some black beans. So these black beans are from the tin, but you could also use them, soak them, cook them, right? Now for the people with hypertension, as I mentioned this morning, anything that can has a little bit of salt, so you want to rinse off some of that brine, okay? All right. What you can do with this too, this is an opportunity, especially if you're doing it for the kids, to add as much vegetables to it as possible. So you can even grate up some chocho, put some carrots in there. They may not notice, right? So you can hide your vegetables in it. You can hide the vegetables in your regular meatballs as well. All right. So you can grate all your vegetables in there. By the time it's cooked up and ground together, nobody knows what's in there. All right. And I'm going to actually add a little bit of oats. I'm going to add some more dried oats because what this is helping to do is absorb some of that moisture that has just been released from the onions. Okay, so we want to kind of, because we want it to come together. And I'm using some brown rice here. We could also use brown rice flour. So for those people with gluten intolerances, oat may not, because sometimes oat may be contaminated with gluten. And gluten, as you know, is a protein that's found in wheat flour. And some people are allergic to that, right? It gives them digestional problems. It's hard to digest, diarrhea, cramping. Yeah, for some people. So this has come in together nicely. I'm just going to add some herbs and spices. So this is some cumin. All right, cumin is used a lot in Mexican cuisine and anything south of the border. Also in Indian cuisine, it's normally one of those spices that is found in our curry powder, right? Along with turmeric, which is very good anti-inflammatory. This is some paprika. So paprika is really just a red bell pepper that they've kind of roasted, dried, and made into powder. I have some Italian herbs here. Fresh herbs would be good as well, but you know what? I think the dried herbs give it a better kick. All right, so I'm just gonna sprinkle a little. And if you notice, I'm kind of not using any measuring implements. I think that cooking is very fluid. After a while, you know what you like. You can add what flavors work well with you. Okay, this is a little bit of fennel. This is a little bit of a sweet spice. It's reminiscent of what you find in sausages, right? So I'm adding a little fennel there just to kind of give it a hint of sweetness and a little more savory. All right. So can anybody smell it? Long time. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm just going to turn this off. I'm going to have to handle it. So I'm going to let it sit and come into its own while I cut up some. Nothing in Jamaican is finished without some scotchy, right? Yes. So we're going to put just a little bit of kick to it, just a little bit of Scotch bonnet pepper. And of course, I don't want to put my hands in my eyes, so I'm using my fork. So it doesn't burn me after. And I'm just chopping that up nicely. Okay. So as I mentioned before, these are bean patties, and you can use any beans. You can use chickpeas, black-eyed peas, gungo peas if you'd like. What other favorite beans you guys use? Red beans, yes. You can actually mix the beans. You can actually add red beans to this as well and mix and have a combination of beans. All right. So you can mix the beans if you'd like. Okay, so what I have here is some flaxseed, right? What I've done is ground some flaxseed in a spice grinder, because what I'm using, this is a vegan dish, so there's no eggs. So normally something like a meatball would need something to bind it, right? So instead what I've done, I've heated some water and have put it on the flaxseed and allowed it to bloom, because the flaxseed now will absorb some of that liquid and it's going to act like a binder to this, right? So it will help to keep the meatball together. So I'm just going to add some. It's about equal amounts of water to flaxseed, all right? So I've just allowed it, as I said, I've allowed it to bloom, so it's thick now because it's now waterlogged, all right? So I'm just going to be mixing that up. And you definitely want to taste as you go, because I'm going to fry these up shortly. Really just browning them. So you want to taste it just to make sure the flavor is good. As I said, not even if you're hypertensive, but just in general, we as a population consume 4 times the amount of salt that we should. The recommended intake of salt, I think, is 2,300 milligrams. I mean, in a cup of soup, a cup of the packaged cup of soup, it has surpassed that by just one cup. So what you find, if you have a lot of packaged products, chips, or even soup mix, bouillon cube, anything processed, a lot of times have salt, is what I'm talking about. Sugar and salt, processed foods, all right? So I'm going to taste. I think it's good. I think it wants some more cumin. So I'm going to add a little bit more. Okay. All right, so this can be very messy, this next step. But I'm going to be utilizing some gloves here because I'm going to get my hands in it. Now, if you're at home and not preparing for people and your hands are clean, certainly go at it. It's quite fun. So all I'm going to be doing is just creating a nice ball shape here. Okay, and just flattening a little bit, right? I'm just going to add a little bit of oats to the bottom, right? Similar texture, just to give it a little something to kind of, not so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. So something for the oil to grab to. All right. So I'm literally just going to put it in and allow it to brown up. Remember, it's cooked already, so this could have been done, formed, put in the fridge until another time. It can be frozen as well, and you can bring it down, put it in the oven, right? So this is great if you're doing meal prep, especially pre-prep for your lunches and things like that. Should I make her feed herself?
Thank you. I get a napkin now.
Sure, you want a napkin?
Well, it is good. Oh, yes. It tastes the crunch. And you have the explosion of the spices. Yeah.
And it doesn't have any sauce on there. And then I said you could have a salsa. I have some pineapple salsa on it, right?
And that's one of the things you're concerned about. No, it's great.
Coming up, Stacy continues to discuss her role as a nutrition therapist.
Go for God Family Church.
Today's message is for those of you who thought that Jesus was finished.
Inspiring messages.
I'm here to tell you today that you are excellent. God is excellent.
Empowerment from biblical motivation.
To be glorified means to endow with authority. A woman is a powerful, creative being.
Join Pastor Christopher Morgan and the Go for God team as we go for God.
Sundays at 4:30 p.m. It's all about Home Sweet Home. Get your half-hour dose of the business of real estate, from laws and concepts to reality, building, buying, or renting. Or what about trends in decor or renovations? Home Sweet Home will keep you up to date.
Welcome back to The Good Life. If you are just joining us, we are talking with nutrition therapist Stacy Aiken. A lot of people have benefited from her health coaching. Let's hear what they have to say.
Well, my husband actually bought me a gift certificate to Stacy's health retreat. I think it was in 2013, and I thought that was a great Christmas present. The retreat was free just to be, and it was eye-opening, was life-changing, I must say. There were things there that Stacy demonstrated and talked about that I've never even thought about ever. Things about different foods that we have in Jamaica that you can actually add to a salad. For example, raw callaloo leaves. Who adds callaloo leaves just to a salad like that? Normally we have lettuce, cabbage and carrot, right? But so she explored food, Jamaican food, and I thought that was good. Coming out of that retreat, it changed my whole concept, my whole thinking of food in general and how you apply food to your body.
So I'm one of those persons that like to snack, you know, your peanut brittle, anything that has a crunch. And Stacy showed me how to make, just using seeds, so a little sunflower seed, some pumpkin seeds, and a little nut, flaxseed, as you saw her use today, which is a great binding agent. I learned that as an alternative to using egg as a binding agent. And just to put that, mix that all together with the flaxseed in its gummy state, so it sticks together, and to bake that, and you get an excellent, almost like a cracker. I thought crackers were just the flour crackers that you buy in the package, but it gave me that, you know, that crunch, and it tasted good and it was healthy. And she helped me to understand that I can make my own snack, things that I like that's healthy, without having to buy something that's packaged and not very healthy for me.
What are some common health concerns that can be addressed with nutrition therapy?
Okay, common health concerns that can be addressed with nutrition therapy are your lifestyle illnesses, metabolic concerns such as diabetes, hypertension, possibly high cholesterol, obesity for sure. There are other issues, there are some other technical areas like endocrine issues, hormonal imbalances that definitely nutrition therapy can impact. So basically, like anything that has a nutritional impact, such as the diseases I mentioned, which are very common in Jamaican society, especially as women. Women are at very high risk for progressing into a state of glucose intolerance that leads to diabetes. And many of our deaths around our country is linked to these lifestyle behavioral diseases. So many of my clients come with lifestyle illnesses such as hypertension, diabetes, and what I do with them is create awareness around the things that they're eating, and also recognizing that every client is different. So even though you may have diabetes and you know, another patient may have diabetes, you can't prescribe the same nutritional plan for a client because they're individually different. We're all bio-individuals.
Okay. So talk to me about bio-individuality.
Bio-individuality is really just a term that recognizing just that we're all made differently, that we're all different. So there's an adage, a saying that says, one man's food is another man's poison. So it's recognizing that even around advising people about what is healthy or what is healthful, or what foods promote health, even around healthy type of foods, there are people who could have allergies to something that could be more nutritious. You know, people have things like gluten intolerance, which is something that is propping up more these days. So it's recognizing that even though you may have the same health concern because of your allergies, because of your health history, your past, because of your whole lifestyle, you're different. And so what I do is find out what makes that person different.
So you mentioned earlier that some women tend to be emotional eaters, and I'm sure some men fit into that category too. So how does our mental state affect the type of food choices that we make?
That's a very good question. So many people are not aware of the mind-body connection, you know? When you're in a rush, you're rushing to work, you have a deadline, you might be tense. For instance, what happens to me when I'm under pressure, if I have a deadline, is that I may forget to eat, right? Or I may choose to eat the wrong things because I'm rushing on the road and all my body is saying to me, give me energy. So I may have a candy bar, or what I crave, maybe something high in calories, high in sugar, because my adrenaline is going and the body is telling me, give me more energy because I'm going into fight mode. Because remember, the brain is a warehouse, right? There's a lot of stuff happening. There's chemicals being released. And so those chemicals are communication signals to the rest of the body to kind of tell us how we should feed, how we should eat. So for instance, someone, as I mentioned before, you know, when you're depressed, there's a certain pattern that's associated with depressive eating. Comfort foods, that's why they're called comfort foods, because it actually brings us comfort. Food is very tied to our emotional state. There's some foods that really make us feel good, you know, and there are other foods that are kind of cold and it probably doesn't make us feel as warm as possible. Being aware that your mental state and your emotional state can impact on what you choose is the beginning of making those lifestyle choices. Sometimes in the month I feel a little bit more, you know, groggy, I feel a little bit depressed, but it's my hormones. It's hormones that the brain is releasing because of a certain time of the month or menstrual cycle. But being aware that that is happening to me and being aware of that's a natural part of my body's response, you know, it allows me, it empowers me to be able to choose, because I know I don't have to. I can override those signals and I can do the right thing that's for me. So awareness is key, and understanding the mind-body connection is key as well.
You have just seen part 1 of our 2-part episode on food therapy with Stacey Aiken. Join us next week, Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. when we talk about sugar and salts. Until then, keep living the good life.
As a teacher for over 8 years, we need to realize that the children are our future. We need to love them, appreciate and respect our children. No more violence against children. No more!
Having a corporate event, seminar, awards show, conference, product launch, workshop or expo? Business Access TV is here to showcase your event. Contact our sales department at 908-0919, 906-6357 or